No, and the yelling started, and threatening my mom that if she doesn't instill more love for socialism, they're gonna take me away and my siblings into orphanage, and if she continues it and cause the problems, she might just end up in prison as well. The Blackwater Bridge, they burn them and they hang their bodies there. Our forces pulled out, surrounded the Fallujah, and nobody was going in but us. Yeah, just like on my gym, I didn't buy all of the equipment now, but just be like small pieces.
I don't know if you missed, I got a gym in here too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I have to show you that after this. All right, sweet. Well, I'm excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, today we have an amazing guest on. We have a communist political prisoner, member of the Polish resistance movement, U.S. Navy SEAL, accelerated freefall jump master, and gulag amateur tattoo artist.
That's a story. We can't miss that one.
Thomas Drago Dzieran, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Also General Dzieran for those in the Chow Hall. I can't remember which location, but for all the suites. So I'm excited to have you on, brother.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, this is awesome. I'm just excited that we're face to face and we're talking. So we'll jump right into it. We're talking out in the car when I picked you up at the airport, but honestly, I'd love to jump into born in 1960 under the Iron Curtain in Poland. And I think for those who've read the book or definitely should read the book, The Pledge to America, your father was hardcore communist, your mother hardcore anti-communist, and same with your grandparents.
Yes.
How did that dynamic play out, especially as a kid? Like I said, born under the Iron Curtain. I have a few questions with that, but like, what was life growing up like that? Like it's too drastic. It's not even like Democrat Republicans. I mean, that's a very hard communist, anti-communist. What was
they
like?
Didn't play out.
It didn't play out. Yeah.
So when I was born, my father at the time, he was not yet very high in the government. He was just making his inroads in the Communist Party, in Polish government at the time. Please remember that I was born just 15 years after Second World War. Mm-hmm. This is less time span that we have between our towers fall down and today.
Yeah.
So, and there's so life in our hearts, there's still so vivid. Mm-hmm. So think about these people who survive the socialist occupation of Hitler. Mm-hmm. I mean, Hitler was socialist and his system was the National Socialism, but like any socialism, whether it is Adolf Hitler socialism, or whether it is Joseph Stalin socialism, Leonid Brezhnev socialism, or Polish leader socialism. Yeah. Socialism is socialism. Yeah. And they all have many things in common. All of those socialists, there's like political prisoners, political murders, assassinations, censorship, attack on patriotism, and relative morality. We can talk about it a bit later. Relative morality. Those are aspects of socialism. Yeah. So it didn't work out at all. Yeah. I remember my father was outcast in his own family. I mean, they tolerate him. They were nice to him. Yeah. But like when I visit my grandmother, his mother, in the village, when I was like maybe 3 years old, I remember they were teaching me how to pray. Yeah. So I remember the first prayer that I learned was just the prayer, and then always ask God for the good things to happen, like take all the communists out of Poland and send them where they came from. Yeah. And they are Satans, they are evil. So when we were praying, I was on my knees. I had my hands together. And after the prayer, so now let's ask the God for the good things. So God, please take all the communists out of Poland. Take all these bastards. She didn't mean the words. the pure evil and devils out of Poland. So for me, being 3 years old kids, I had no idea what the communists were. I thought, like, if they are evil, they are devils. So they've got to have a horn's tail and they breathe fire. So I asked her that. She said, well, you don't see it, but they are worse than that. They kill people. They kill people who don't disagree with them. They censor them. They are bad people. But you don't see their tail, horns, and all that stuff. My father overheard it one time, and he got really pissed. He said, like, you will not teach my son this approach to the greatest invention of humanity, socialism. And they started arguing. My father said, if he hears this type of prayer again for the good things for Poland, get the communists out, then I will never come back. He will never allow me back. There is one thing that we need to make it clear, what people do not understand. We call these countries behind Iron Curtain in 20th century communist countries in Eastern Europe. Well, the thing is that none of these countries were ever communist country. Not even Soviet Union was communist country. They were all socialist states. They were run by communists like my father, but they were not communist country. Because I think there's what today a lot of people try to kind of explain that socialism that is good, communism is bad. We all agree that communism is bad, and we do. We agree with communism is bad, it's dangerous. But people don't think much about socialism, especially now with today's political climate. But socialism is what ruin, destroy, and obliterate the society in Eastern Europe. That was socialism.
It's like the Trojan horse of communism, essentially.
Well, it's like a stepping stone to communism, but it's more palatable to people saying, because the explanation, and I'm sure you hear it very often, is, well, socialism is nothing more than just building the roads by the government, paying for the schools by the government, maintaining police, firefighters, and first responders by the government. Well, if this is the definition of socialism, by that definition, even Morocco and Saudi Arabia are socialist countries, right? Which we know they are not.
Exactly,
They were socialist states, and socialism is as dangerous as any other totalitarian state, because eventually turns into totalitarian control of the society.
And your father was an academic, and typically in academic circles, that's where it always flourishes. You never see like the common man does as well, but there's influence there, but it seems like it's always in the academics. Was that something that you think with your father? Because you said he was respected as a teacher. People actually, he was friendly.
Yes.
Is that something that you think that like influenced him more because he was more of a teacher and academic? But then, like I said, your mother though was also a teacher.
Yes.
Where do those two? Like I said, he was so much into it, but his parents obviously didn't want that at all. Especially in those days. And I do have a quick question. I mean, you can answer that one too, but like, just as a in general, like how did they find each other? How did they get married and have, like I said, 3 kids? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, because you're like, oh, they were hardcore.
They were teachers. They were both teachers.
Okay. So at some point, was there some warm feelings growing up? Like you said, like even between your parents, or I know you said they got divorced when you were 7.
I haven't seen my father a lot. He was so concentrated on his career that he seldom was home. He was always looking to be somewhere out on the road. He had to do this, he had to do that. So I don't remember seeing him a lot. But when he comes usually, I knew there is a bell that will be flying, going to be spanking us for all the bad things that we did. And there will be a lot of punishment going on. So he was kind of like a despot. But so I never remember any warm feelings towards him. I seen the guy who show up once every while and beat us up. So that was it. But you know what? You mentioned about this being academic, how he did get into this communism while my mother was able to maintain the decency and being a good person, and he turned into the communist. Well, he was if you met him, if you just talked to him, you would think, wow, what an awesome, educated, worldly man, like older man. I would love to have a neighbor like this. And that's what a lot of people think of it. But when you start probing his beliefs and views, you would realize that his idea of socialism was like socialism or nothing. And if you don't agree with socialism, if you try to, God forbids you try to oppose it, if you don't agree, we're going to convert you. The socialism is such a great thing. People are just too stupid to understand, so we need to force a little bit on them. But if they resist, this is where we need to use full force of law to either force them or silence them. So his ideas was, at that time I didn't know it, but later when I was like 16 years old, I went to live with him because my mother couldn't afford having 3 teenager kids. So they sent me to my father. When I start talking to him, I realized that he's maybe not so really nice, because his idea was not only just the way to silence the opposition and people who do not see socialism and communism as a great ideologies and systems, would be, if you disagree, we're going to convince you that you should agree. But if you still don't, well, we still have a prison opens. And we also, if you are an author, we're going to remove your books from libraries and bookshelves. If you're an artist, we're going to ban you from performing in the theaters. If you are a movie maker, you will be shut down. Nobody will ever hear about you. So I asked him, what if that doesn't work? Well, we have a prisons for people like this. And if then they don't, so I'm asking him, what if you can't change their minds in prison? Well, certain people needs to be eliminated, so the society needs to advance for the good of society, for the good of the people, the nation. Those people needs to be just physically eliminated, basically killing them.
Yeah.
So that was his view, and he did not change his views until he died in 2021. Actually, I went with my wife to see him for the last time. I never seen him. It was, I think, first time I see him, first or second time. And he still did not change his mind. He was still hardcore communist. How he got converted to it, I don't know. But once you get indoctrinated, it is very difficult to change, for you to accept the facts. And I think the best information on that subject would be given by Yuri Bezmenov. I don't know if you heard that name.
I've heard the name before.
Yes, the fact that he escaped from Soviet Union. He was a journalist working for KGB. His specialty was subverting the nations. So he eventually was able to escape, and he gave a lot of lecture in Canada, in the United States, and I encourage people to listen to it, because what was happening in the last 4 years under Biden administration was just what Yuri Bezmenov was talking about.
It's like subversion of the colleges, or like it
subversion of the country, but also the society. And so what he was talking about it, but the caveat is that he's dead for 30 years. So what he was saying then was happening under Biden administration.
And I think what's interesting when you again, we can go back to your family, and it's really amazing to hear your book, because I listened to an audiobook, but like your grandmother and your mother, how prevalent the church is. And right away you say how they undermine church, because church gives hope.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and you see that in society more, the natural people move away from, like me and my wife, you know, her father's a pastor. So we're, you know, in the US, we're kind of like, you grow up in the church, you go away from it, but you eventually come back. Like you kind of see Catholics do that. You see Lutherans like myself do that, or Christians. But you kind of see the society overall, like moving away from the church. But then now you kind of see a little bit of an uptrend of people going back, because it gives hope. It gives, you know, solidarity and all these other things. But when you were talking, when you were growing up, it was, you know, suppression of the church, and the church, and it was huge. And your grandmother always, you know, taught you to pray. And even though you didn't quite understand it because you were a kid,
right.
It's a huge deal, you know, passing through the window, you know, as a kid, you know,
to go to church,
go to church.
Yes.
You know,
my father was so scared about losing his job, or somebody saying something in his job. At that time, he was already working for Central Committee in the city Zielona Góra as a communist apparatchik. So yes, he was standing in front of the door, holding hands up, and say like, kids are not going to church. But if you guys want to go, but don't take the kids to church, because if somebody see you, especially you, my wife, with the kids in the church, I will lose my job. So I remember his words. So mom said, no, he's going to church. He was standing in front of the door. So we're living on the first floor. My mother picked me up and passed me to my grandmother through the window, like a football. I didn't know. I thought it was funny. It's it's like the Disneyland, you know. It's like having a ride.
It's a fun game, and then really, it's horrific. Yeah. And so then, like your grandmother had lived through World War I, World War II, through Stalinism and Nazism, socialism, and now, you know, you're almost like living in the hell that was Khrushchev's socialism, you know, or Khrushchev socialism in Poland. You know, did she ever tell you any stories? Like when did she pass, or like when as you got a little older, or was it just the church?
Well, she didn't even have to pass a lot. I was seeing the effects of socialism in my family.
Yeah.
When members of my family, like my uncle, I was looking up to always, he was
Uncle
beat up by
Adam.
the police because his business was too successful and was competing with party members. He was never party member. So yes, my family survived all kinds of socialisms. There was the Adolf Hitler socialism, the National Socialism. Then there was Joseph Stalin socialism. It was after the Second World War. Then the Khrushchev socialism, Brezhnev socialism, all kinds of socialism, and all of these socialist systems were devastating not only to Poland but to every country in the Eastern Bloc, and especially to the societies, because to instill and control society, socialism is a good tool for that.
Yeah.
Socialism is a great tool for such control.
Yeah.
They had to undermine the faith, the moral base of society. So there were attacks on faith. There were attacks on patriotism, Polish patriotism. Everything that did not go along with socialist ideals were monuments were destroyed, they were changed, or the different meaning was given to them. Books that did not support socialism, and God forbid, they were questioning the socialist ideals. They were removed from the bookstore and libraries. And I didn't know about it at that time, even when I was with my father living for a year before he kicked me back. That was somebody pointed out to me not too long time ago that my father was instrumental in canceling influential people in Poland. He was responsible for censorship in books, in movies, and theaters, because he was a director of in Ministry of Art and Culture. He was a director of department for books, libraries, theaters, and Polish culture. So he was the one responsible. Matter of fact, there was a dispute, very popular Polish comedy at the time from 60s, from 70s, 60s or 70s, was, I didn't know, I thought it was funny comedy, but my father was instrumental into removing big parts of that movie because it was possible, maybe people could think that they make fun from socialism.
Yeah.
So I'm talking socialism because when I say socialism, you should think communism the way you understand it.
Yep.
But I know this, I'm saying socialism because there were socialist states. Even Soviet Union was socialist state. You don't see anywhere we are building communism. Yeah. Everything was the slogans, everything, the ideas was to build socialism for Polish people, for these people, for entire world, and the end goal was to have a socialist state controlled by the globalist elites. Yeah. That didn't work out for those are Lenin's initial ideals. They didn't work out for them very well until Biden came into the picture.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, I think that's, like I said, and living through that, like I mean, you know, like I said, you don't hear much of these stories unless you go to Poland and you talk to people that are older generations.
Yes.
You know, because even I ran into, like, me and my wife were backpacking through Italy and ran into two Polish girls who were younger than me, you know, and they wouldn't know that because, like, when you said you returned back into the 90s, I believe, you know, it was a different world. It's a different time. Yes. So they don't understand what you went through as a child and how devastating that is. And, you know, I think, like I said, using the word socialism, you start seeing it a little bit creep up here, like in academics, you know, and all these things, and to hear it firsthand of like what it's truly like your mother going to the bread lines at 5 a.m. just for that one piece of bread. I appreciate your, and maybe it was also in the times, but like, you know, your violence solves problems. And
violence always solves problems. Yeah. It didn't solve a problem for you, means you did not apply enough of the violence.
Yeah. And I feel like in that society, because everyone's supposed to be the same, like you said, I feel like that's even more prominent,
Yes.
that violence solves problems. Like you beat up a kid to get a better sandwich, or I appreciate the story of the sandwiches.
Not today. Please remember, America changed me. America made me a better man, and I don't see it this way anymore.
Yeah.
There are cases that you do have to use violence, and a lot of it to for, let's say, secure the nation, secure the country. That's different. But at that time, please remember, we're living only 15 years after Second World War. People coming out of the concentration camp, of other places where they seen death on daily basis. That whole society was harmed, was injured, and as they were healing themselves, they cannot change themselves. And I am product of that society. So violence wasn't frowned upon, maybe. In the younger generation when I was there, although my mother and my was very opposed to it. My mother was, many things that I did when I was a kid, if my mom would know about it, I think my ass would be blue from beating up. My mom actually made even a special tool to beat us up. We call it discipline. Discipline. So there was like a little stick, and there was like a phrase of the leather, strings of leather, and with these rings, just like beat us up. And that was not painful, but it looked scary and it was very loud. So just that's that thing.
It's just the crack of it.
Just the crack of it. It's like, oh my God, I'll never do it again, Mom.
So it was your book. You do mention your brother and little sister. How did they end up? Did they end up making it to the States, or did they end up, what were their lives in Poland? Kind of like a long.
So my sister still lives there. As a matter of fact, I just came. I went to Poland to sign certain documents for the Medal of Freedom and Solidarity. I had to. So I talked to my sister, and they are still alive. They do well. My brother, he was a little bit different than I was. Like my sister, she played piano. My mom sings. She was actually singing a lot. She loves sings. She taught singing. My brother played violin, and I beat people up. So that was the. So my brother was always the more gentle one. He was like very good person, and he got along with everybody. I didn't get along with it. I didn't get along with anybody. So.
Well, I appreciate the story though of you talk about socialism and redistribution, all right? But I liked how you beat up the rich communist kids so you guys could get better sandwiches for like the class too, wasn't it? Like
I was hungry, and
I
didn't think much about it. I knew that I was stronger than some of the kids, and they were like very well fed, plumpy kids, and I said, well. And I look at it, in Poland at the time, like nobody wants to be perceived poor. You had this pride, it's like, I don't care. But when you had a sandwich, like my sandwich was so empty, or sometimes put a little bit tea on it and put sugar, or oh my God, I love the too. But if you put the sour cream and sugar on it,
oh wow,
or sometimes it was butter or margarine and sugar, right, or salt. So I loved it. I loved it today. Even like I think yesterday, I asked my wife to fix me a sandwich, put the butter on it, put the sour cream on it, put a sprinkle with sugar. Oh, I love that. But anyway, when I was, but we didn't want to show these sandwiches to other people because they were laughing at us. They were like, especially those party kids from the parents were either like super rich or most of them belonged to party. To be rich in Poland at the time, you had to belong to party. Or had at least some connections to the party. So when I see these sandwiches with the ham, the tomato, lettuce, it's just like, there was, even today when I think about that, I just want to eat. So, I figure out, you know what? The guy is a shithead. I can just go and kick his ass and take his sandwich. So I just walked up to him. I said, but that was cool. That was nice. I just got half of his sandwich. I gave him half, but I told him, look, tomorrow you just tell your parents that you're growing, you need eat more, and you will be easy eating 2 sandwiches. For these rich Communist Party members, parents was like nothing. You want 2 sandwiches? Here it is. Boom. So he will start bringing me two sandwiches. One he was eating, one was I eating. But I remember, it was I've done it the same thing. I don't want people to see my sandwiches when I eat. So they're on the break. I just went the corner of the hallway in the school or somewhere, just quick eat my sandwich. But I also that when I started eating like a king on the cause of the communist bastards, I noticed other kids are too. And I remember I was not nice person. No, there's things that you regret later on in life. I can't change my past, but I was nice. So I was a hooligan. I was beating up kids too because I thought my mom is a teacher, so like I'm untouchable, and people are really afraid to do anything to me because my mom was teaching the same school at the time. So they put up with me. But one day, the kid that I was tormenting in school, we're coming back, my bus ran away, and he was just walking like maybe a couple miles to his house. My bus ran away, so I had to walk to different bus station. There was like 2.5 miles, so in Zielonego, kilometers, I'm sorry. So as we walk by, I was walking with him, and he's like scared of me because I was really mean to him, called him all kinds of names. Sometimes I just beat him up for the hell of it. And there was no... It was kind of normal, There was like if you were stronger and bully or you could beat somebody up, you beat him up first, and then you make him friend as like the submissive guy. So as I'm walking to my other bus station, I asked him, "Where do you live?" I say, "I live across the street here." I was like, "You're so." Let's go inside your house. Let me see how you live. I just wanted to see. And when I walked in the house, I mean, it today brings tears to my eyes. I didn't know it. So the guy didn't have a clean clothes. He stunk. He smelled bad often. And we called him then. We called him out almost every day. And he was coming to school, sitting in his sink, hiding his food when he was eating. I noticed that. So I walked to his room, to his house. There was a big, old pre-war building with many apartments in it. So like huge gate, you walk in, or like small apartment, it's just one room, right? One room. In the room is a sink. The sink is like today we have in our closets, in the schools, in the closet where we have the mops, all this scrub like that deep. So I say, well, where do you sleep? I see one bed and one table and one chair. You say, well, I sleep with mom. And when the table, when I see the mom seats, I sit on her lap. So we don't need more chairs. I said, what's your restroom? Well, we pee in the sink. But we have a restroom outside. It was outhouse. And all the neighbors from this building were going to that outhouse. At that time was nothing uncommon in Poland.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow. And there was a table, maybe like half of this size, one chair, which was like falling apart, and there was a can, like big can of a cotton piece of it, and bunch of cigarette butts in it. The house all smelled with cigarettes. I said, so what is your food? Well, we eat the food. So when mom comes back tomorrow morning, we will go and she makes grocery, and then we'll have a food. And I think we already ate today for everything, so I don't have any more. So I remember that time I just like change. I was like, fuck, this kid doesn't need our. So if they were calling him names, I start beating these people up. I said, don't touch this guy. He's working for me. I was like, he's helping me start sandwiches. And I set him up with the sandwiches. And we never got caught except one time. I mean, one time. One of those little piglets, communist piglets, showed up, and he complained to mom that I extort sandwiches. I find out because that was like where parents came in, they got quiet, and they're like they were in the hallway. So I caught this guy in the toilet and just explained him from offhand very quickly that he needs to shut up and he must not recognize anybody in our class who is eating his sandwiches. And that was kind of funny. They came in, so. Who is extorting your sandwiches? He's like, Mom, I don't see anybody here in this class. That's not this class. Just walk around, and the parents, they had him in front, and he was like walking and looking at us, and walking and looking there, because there was like a rows of the school, where we sit in twos. Each bench, it was like 3 rows, 3 columns of these. He walks around like, no, I don't see anybody here. They were mad. The parents were mad. They was like, okay, let's go to different classes. They went through entire school.
Yeah.
And they didn't find who was stealing his sandwiches.
Yeah.
He stopped bringing 2 sandwiches. He was bringing only 1 sandwiches from then on.
Yeah.
But what the parents didn't find out that he only ate half of it because the rest of it was going to either me or somebody else. Depends how hungry I was. But there was the reality of life. Today I get a lot of flack for it. When even in my family, if my mom knew what I did, if my mom knew what I was doing, I bet you I would march from my apartment to the school, being held by ear by my mom, and find everybody I stole sandwich from, apologize, then get a big spanking, and I will be told to go collect papers, sell the papers for recycling, and pay for the sandwiches. My mom would not tolerate it. So I was kind of a little bit afraid that she doesn't find out. But that was the reality. Like today, would I do today? No. Would I allow my kids to do it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Even if we were poor, even if we didn't have time to eat, I say you can't do it. But it was a different society, and that violence was really nothing unusual at the time because people were used to it.
Well, I feel like I think it was the time, but I feel like said in that society. But at the same point, like I hear it, and when I read the book, I was like, oh, like I see that as a helping hand, like in my own,
Oh yeah,
because it's like, hey, you stop beating up the kid because you saw what his life was like, and then there's the kids that are not eating, and then you said you got the communist little piglets. It's like, all right,
it touched me.
Yeah. It's like you're gonna give sandwich, I'm gonna get it, but then these kids are gonna get it too, and it's like to me that's a hero of a story. Obviously, there's still violence.
Well,
involved.
I was kind of a Polish Robin Hood, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, a Robin Hood of the Polish school, elementary school. But at that point, though,
I'm just kidding. It was not good,
Yeah.
Extort kids for sandwiches. But like I say, not only I was hungry, other kids was hungry. At least the good things is that other kids could eat too on the half of those communist piglets.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the silver lining of it. Like it wasn't just you, and I would understand why you do it because you're hungry, but but you did it for your classmates as well. Yeah, like, and it does extend that like olive branch of like, hey, that was the times we're all hungry. I can't imagine what that's like, growing up, like, especially in the U.S. Like you're going hungry. Or not even going hungry, but you're just hungry all the time. Like you said, you'd go to sleep.
Well, sometimes starving, my mom was able to. Most of the time, my mom was able to buy bread. So we had the bread, we had the margarine, or if we didn't, we had a little tea or water. Put on the bread and sprinkle with sugar. Any better. I thought it was okay until I seen the other sandwiches. I got hold of them, and then I fed myself of this communist. Got 6 children.
Yeah. And so the apartments you guys lived in, pretty sure I experienced a little bit of that in Ukraine. When I went to Ukraine this last summer, I went all the way to Izium, and I'm pretty sure that was where old Soviet housing apartments. It was like it was one main room, a bathroom that was separate, but then it was the kitchen. That was it. You walk in, and that was the whole.
So then you had a nice apartment.
Yeah.
In Poland and in Europe, I think entire Europe, but in Poland, we didn't call it bedrooms. So here you say I have 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
You assume that you have a third room that is a living room, right? Unless it's a studio.
Yeah.
In Poland, it was not like that. You have 2 rooms, you're like, holy smoke. I mean, how did you get that apartment or that housing? So, especially like with the new buildings built from this big concrete plates, they were pre-manufactured. So there's something. If you get a place like this, you are golden. It means you're like, holy shit, you are set for life. But didn't think that it was like your entire family was living there. It was grandmother, grandfather, mother, father. Then it was kids. And when they get married, they were living with their husband, and sometimes they had the kids. Yeah. So you might have sometimes even 10, 15 people in 2-room apartment.
Right, so
sometimes they get closet or just partitions being made. And in my case, there was because there was a government building because my father was communist, so he had a comfortable 3 rooms, hallway, and there was 1, 2, and 3 rooms.
Really?
So they say you have too much, so we're gonna go and co-opt another guy to that room. So you're gonna release that room. So this guy now is like, dude shows up and we don't know from Adam, It's like, okay, the kitchen is his, the bathroom is his. So he shit, piss, shower in the same place where we did as a kids. I grew up like this, so I didn't think anything unusual. And my mom cried. My mom said, we can't live like this. We cannot have a dude drinking, having party, sometimes bringing some, because we're young guys, so bringing bimbos and carousing with them in the room where the kids want to sleep in the another room.
So, and that's just the baseline of that society. I mean, like, would some of the older, like, and this is pre-World War II, they're like the Polish people, and this is just me talking of ignorance, but like, before that socialism came in and everybody had to have the same type of stuff, were there a generation like your grandmother or even your mother that was like, no, this is how it used to be. We used to have our own home.
Yes, that's why they oppose it so much.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like, did they ever tell you the stories of like, oh, we used to have our own land. We used to have our own, or this is the way people used to live. There was more freedom.
Well, what I've got from my mom is... just that they had the land, they cultivate their own land. Pretty much, they didn't live as a super rich people, but they live free, and they did whatever they wanted to do. Yeah. I just would like to come back for a second to these change to this. What you mentioned about the housing in communist socialist state. So that was because everything was scarce. Please remember that Poland was utterly destroyed by Germans.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like not much left.
Yep.
So people were living wherever they could. You have a one room and sometimes living 2 or 3 families in one room, separated by the partition. Bathrooms were no worry because bathroom was outhouse outside. So like, you just go wherever you want to go. There's like nobody lives there in the outhouse. But so that was because of the scarce resources. Poles had to deal with it as it came. So that was bad.
Okay.
But my parents, they talk about the history too. So my mom, she was a teacher. She knew a little bit more. And I remember she was always saying that the history that they have to teach, because she was a teacher, is not the history of Poland. This is history twisted to make socialism look good. And she complained about it. My grandmother was very simple. Both of grandmothers were very simple people. They were farmers. They lived off land. And that land was taken away from them, most of it. Since there was not communist state, there was socialist state, they could have some land. And they made the best out of it, what the government allowed them to have. But there was nothing big, there was nothing significant that they could make themselves rich. There was just survival at the time.
Yeah. And so, like I said, that's, I think, when people start talking about like trying to put your mind into that, it's like, well, that they knew what the better life was, but you have, essentially after the ruins of World War II, you just had to move in because everything was destroyed. I mean, it just kind of like almost gives that perfect vacuum for socialism, communism to come in because everything's destroyed.
Yes. So, but the poorer you are, the easier for the government to impose. It's like they say, well, we are not that bad. We just need to put this guy in your house, in your room, because he doesn't have a place to live. And they would find something for him. But they just like to control, and that was very conducive to for socialists, for communists like my father to control society.
Yeah. And in generalities, in childhood, what was your Christmases like growing up then?
Oh, I love Christmases because we could have there was time that my mom sometimes was able to buy the ham and the horseradish. Yeah. She made the horseradish by herself, makes it with sour cream. And so we had the ham, horseradish, bread, hot tea. It was Earl Grey. That was like a once a year thing for us. Sometimes, like neighbors came back from Germany, from overseas, who had a family overseas in the Western Hemisphere. They gave us some maybe taste of the ham or something. But, like that was not common. So Christmas was always that we're going to have a ham, Not always, actually. But most of the time, Mom was able to get it. And the presents. So for me, I remember, I like to draw. I was like drawing very nice images since I was a kid. So my mom gave me the, what do you call it? For
a pencil sharpener.
Pencil sharpener.
Yeah. I
thought I was shit. I was like, God damn, I got such a I couldn't wait to go on the, and I lost it eventually later because I wanted to show to the entire world that I can sharpen my own pencils. I don't have to do these cheesy things like with the knife or something. I can just have it like, looks like a ball. Yeah. So I can just like put my pencil in it and just sharpen it. I thought it was like awesome. So things like that stick out of me. They stick out. for me. But I don't complain about this because for me it was a very beautiful time. You know, so it was maybe not very rich, but it was good.
But,
that was nice.
Well, I agree with you. You don't know what you don't know. You know,
Exactly.
so it's like we grew up. I always say, you know, obviously not like, you know, Polish in the 60s or Poland, but like, you know, my parents, we never knew we were poor. I always feel like everyone, like everyone in America in the 80s, I feel like was poor anyways, you know, or like, but they did the American dream, my parents, and they moved up, and we go from lower class, middle class, upper middle class, you know, and they did great. Right. My mom just retired, you know, and yeah, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. Like I didn't know, you know, that we couldn't go do certain things that other friends, but because it was a blast. We had a great time. We had our traditions.
Yes.
The presents that we got were
traditions. Yes.
You know, you just together, you know, it's like you making the memories, and it's fun. Even no matter how poor you are, you can always have a great tradition and have a lot of fun. Yes. You know, like even you getting the sharpener, that's a cool story. It's like, it was amazing, you know?
Like, you know, so I was bragging to everybody, hey, look what I got for Christmas. You know?
Like, check it out, you know? Yeah. So, and did you ever pursue more of like, even like you said, you were a tough kid, you were violent, but did you like to draw? And then like, did that ever go anywhere as a kid, you know?
Not really. I got kind of like punished at school because I was drawing really good, very nice picture. And we had a teacher, I think his name was Rycerz, it means knight. So knight, in Poland there is an expression, zakuta pała, means like a knight's head with all this iron head, like thick head, iron head. So it means idiot. So I was drawing picture and, you know, like entire cartoons about this guy. And school was like, my class, they were just laughing. They were pissing, laughing so hard. And I got caught with it. So my artistic endeavor ended right there. My mom was called to school, got spanking and no more paper. And I had to account for a piece of paper, no more drawing. That was end of my artistic career.
No, I know. That's I love hearing that. I
can't the prison time when I tried to tattoo the guys. So that was even worse.
Yep. So, you know, one of the things that we wanted to talk about too is Uncle Adam and Voice of America. And, you know, you're going through, and at what point did he start, I don't want to say influencing, but like having an influence on you? Obviously your mother and your grandmother are, you know.
He definitely heard the first about my stint with my encounter with the secret police in Poland when I was 5th grade. So what happened in Poland in 5th grade, kids had to start learning Russian language. And at that time I was not really political. I knew the communists are bad. They are like Satan's evil people with the horns, tail, breathing fire. But I never seen one like this. So it didn't bother me. So I was not the best student in school. So I figured out, well, it's not enough that I'm having problem with math, with Polish language. Now they want me to learn Russian language. What the hell for? And all I hear from my parents, from my mom or from my grandparents, that the Russians are just the political occupiers of Poland. So I didn't think much of it. I just piped out. I said, why the hell do we have to learn Russian language? Our occupiers, when we even don't speak Polish very well. We don't know Polish grammar very well. Why is that? Because I was mad. I was mad that I have to spend extra time studying. I cannot play soccer. I just have to go and sit and learn the Russian. I'm glad I did because it helped me with this another language, right? But at that time I was pissed. But well, not for long because that teacher, I didn't even finish my sentence the teacher was she. She grabbed me by my ear. Those common things in Poland. If you want to walk somebody out, if you did something wrong, you grab him by the ear, you twist it, and you walk him out of the class and they spank or something. So by my ear, and I was in 5th grade, so I was not really, I was small still, but it's 5th grade. So pretty embarrassing. So she got me and walked me to the principal's office and say, this guy is complaining here on. We need to check in his parents. We need to find out what's going on, like why he's so hostile to Soviet Union and Russian language. Well, I was thinking, like, what can I say? But I just said, get in the corner. That was like kind of like punishment already. That's I stay in the corner. So I can hear the calling police and say, yeah, we have here somebody who really doesn't like the socialism. His family apparently doesn't like socialism. I think we need to have a conversation. So police on the way to school, my mom was teaching at that time in different school. So they stopped by her school, they detained her and brought her to school where I was already waiting in the principal's office. Now the yelling started, and threatening my mom that if she doesn't instill more love for socialism, they're going to take me away and my siblings into orphanage, and the government will make sure that we are educated properly. And if she continues it and cause the problems, she might just end up in prison as well. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty harsh. My mom cried. I didn't know why she was crying, but I was crying because I was scared at the time. And they let us out. And my mom later, from then on, every time we go to school, she's like, no politics, nothing about socialism. Because we didn't talk about communism at the time. Poland was not really communist. It was not communist country. We talk about socialism. Mm-hmm. So no talk about socialism and no talk about Communist Party. None, because they're gonna destroy our family. Mm-hmm. So we go up there. It's like, oh, okay, mom, yeah. And so there we didn't say. Sometimes it was piped up here and there, but my uncle got to know what happened. He was very adamant because he was running into the secret police in Poland. Mm-hmm. So especially when he opened his own business, mm-hmm. he was making bricks and cinder blocks, and he was doing so well. He was working so hard. He was very successful. Mm-hmm. So people around stopped buying from the government production facilities, or production facilities by other party members or their friends, because there was everything like, if you belong to party member, if you are a party member, we're gonna help you. You can have your business. Mm-hmm. If you are friend with this party member, well, we might help you too a little bit. Mm-hmm. But so my uncle was outdoing everybody in the number of production. But he was bike-breaking job. I've seen it. Sometimes I went up there to help him. So he had to do physically, load everything up, just pour the concrete, mix the concrete himself, but he was doing it well. And people stopped buying from this other bastard, started buying from him. Mm-hmm. So there was complaints like, well, we are losing business because of that guy, and that guy doesn't like socialism. Mm-hmm. So of course they make him a visit and they ask him to just scale down a little bit with production so the other people can share it. He said he can't because he needs to feed his family. Then so this is when the anti-Nazis showed up. That was like anti-fascists. They called my uncle Nazi and fascist. And those are groups that were instigated from universities, from factories, younger kids group. There were groups that were instigated, financed sometimes, or like encouraged by the secret police and by the Communist Party. So they have groups of these people. They have meetings in the factories. Say, how can we make Poland more socialist? How can we move socialism to communism closer? And they have those meetings, and they thought they are not shit. They are tough, good workers. And they educated very well because they believe in socialism, and they were encouraged. So there was nothing, not difficult to go and say, hey, we have here Nazi and fascists, so why don't you go and talk to the guy? So they raided they came to his place where he was building those cinder blocks and bricks, and they beat him up. They told him, first they told him, say, hey, you already were told to stop, you need to scale down your production. He said, I can't. Well, that's not good. You have a time for, we come back in the weekend and we'll see. So they came in the weekend. He didn't. He just like, well, this is just punks. They beat him up. They destroyed his equipment. And then the case repeated itself, I think, like 3 times. Eventually, he ran out. He rebuilt it every time until the 3rd time. He just didn't have the resources. He had to give up everything. But when he went to the police to complain, the police like, oh, you're that guy. They knew who he was. It's just they beat him up, kick his ass, and make him black and blue and send him home. So he was really against it. So this is when he found out about it. He actually came. He talked to my mom. He talked to me. He told me about Radio Free Europe, Voice of America, and told me how to listen to it. for listening to it, you could go to prison at the time in Poland. They could lock you up and they could interrogate you, or if you were that inconvenient, they just disappear. Who would care? I mean, who would find out? There's a lot of people who disappeared at the time, and they still did not find their graves. They are still looking for some of the Polish patriots' graves today. And so he told me that, and this is where I started actually listening to this radio. I know my mom was petrified. She was scared because we don't know the neighbors. You might know them, you might think you know them, but they might be working for the Polish secret police, and they're like the Stasi in Germany. That's what almost 80% of society was involved with Stasi. We didn't know in Poland. People don't trust each other at the time. So yeah,
and I think
this is how I started with Radio Free Europe.
Yeah, and then to go back a little bit, the anti-fascists, it's a scary parallel what you're saying, what happened in 1970s, and then what's going on in America with Antifa, that are going around beating up people, calling them Nazis on college campuses. So
that was the same way organized in Poland. Not only in Poland, there was entire Eastern Bloc has these groups. They call themselves in the schools. They were like pioneers, but in the factories, in the universities. In Poland at the time, there were groups. They were saying, we fight Nazism, we fight with the fascists. And they had the meetings, they talk, what the best way to make Polish society more socialist. And they were proud of it, They didn't see it as something dangerous and bad. They thought they were proud of it. And there were those groups that were easy to manipulate by the secret police. And that's what happened in the case of my
like I said, that's what we're seeing.
He was hero to me, know?
Yeah. Well, and like I said, we saw it in the, in the 2010s with Antifa here on the college campuses with conservatives. And what is it? They're always trying to, we're just trying to stop Nazis. But, you're if you don't like somebody, you call them a Nazi and you go beat them up. It's like, well, like your uncle just wanted to make bricks.
If they like communists, they can call themselves anti-Nazis, anti-fascists. As long as you are not violent, we're living in the free country. America is the most free country in the world. If these people want to tie themselves with the socialist, Marxist movements, as nothing forbids them. In Poland, it is illegal now to promote and be connected with totalitarian system. But America is free, never experienced Marxism and socialism. So people are kind of a little bit naive. And these groups exist. And that's okay as long as they can have their views. We need to respect it, whether he believes in Nazism or he believes in communism and socialism. As long as they are not violent, and we know the violence unleashed on people who did not agree with the socialist Marxist values in America. So that's what we need. We should worry about the violence. But if they want to believe in it, who cares? I fought, and many of us, you fought for America to be way it is, so people can express themselves in the way they want, as long as they don't harm and threaten other people.
And I think the second part of that too is the level of paranoia, and I've heard this from other historians of that era that talk about that era. The paranoia is through the roof. Like you said, no one trusted anybody. You didn't know your teachers are hardcore socialists, or maybe your teacher isn't, or your neighbor, they can hear you through the wall. Your mother's anti-communist, your father's communist. So it's like within the family unit, everyone was spying on each other, but no one knew who was who,
because of the consequences of one wrong word said in the wrong place and the wrong time could kill you, literally. And if they didn't kill you, very likely you could end up in prison. So people were afraid.
Yeah. And so when you started listening to Radio Free Europe and Voice of America, what was actually coming across? Like, I've never known.
My jaw dropped because, all the history that they told us, it was just totally opposite what really happened.
Yeah.
And on the note here, Radio Free Europe, decades after me being educated by people from Radio Free Europe, I had the chance to visit the place where where it was transmitted into Poland.
Oh yeah!
So I went to the museum there. It is museum now, And I had a chance to see the transmitters. I had to see the chance that, how it worked.
Yeah.
They was transmitted into Poland and Eastern Europe. And of course, Soviet Union at the time, and Polish communists, they built those towers with the countermeasures where they would try to drown that broadcasts into Poland and Eastern European countries. They were not successful. The only thing is that to listen to it, you have to make it fairly loud. And if neighbor could hear you, and you had the wrong neighbor, you could go to prison if you were an older person, or you can be threatened by the secret police, or you could, like there was a kid doing it, they could actually take you remove you from that family.
So then when
it didn't happen often that they remove kids from the family, but it did happen.
It did happen, yeah. And so when you started hearing that stuff, was there thoughts in your head like, is there any other kids in my class listening to this? Is there, there's paranoia, but you're it's like a new thing you've discovered.
No, you know what? Like I was just so shocked what I learned. The entire Polish history was twisted. So there's a total entire dimension of Poles fighting on the West, fighting with allies on the Allies side, which we didn't know about or knew very, very little. Division 303 was the most successful Polish division of fighter planes. Was the most successful division in entire Battle of Britain. So we didn't hear much about this thing. You hear everything which came with the Soviet Union side and everything that supported socialism. But people who were fighting on the West, like Polish ace, with most kills in the Second World War, he was arrested when he came back to Poland and sentenced to death. He survived. His death sentence was changed later, I believe, to 20 years in prison when Churchill and the President Roosevelt, I think, or not Roosevelt, when Churchill found out. Okay. And they actually stood up for him, saying to let this guy go. So he was exceptional. Eventually, he got out of prison after spending years in communist prison, and some of it on the death row. Many of those pilots were killed, were executed on the false charges. There's a story of Captain Pilecki. So I think you would pronounce Pilecki, but he's Rotmistrz Pilecki, who volunteered to be captured and go to concentration camp to Auschwitz, where his task was to write the report and tell the West what is going on. And in the meantime, he also built the underground resistance structure in Auschwitz. Eventually, he had to escape from there because it became too dangerous to it. But those reports went to the West, and Western allies knew about it. That's the thing. There's like this. Well, they didn't know what Germans were doing. They knew because there was detailed report from inside the Auschwitz that came on the desk of Churchill. So he escaped. He participated in the Warsaw Uprising in 1944. He was a hero to Polish nation, and he was executed in 1946 by communists under some fake charges because he was very inconvenient. Anybody who had a contact with the West, Western way of thinking, Western ideals, was very inconvenient. Russians sent them to gulags. In Poland, they were either executed or in prison for a very long time. So he was one of those, and nobody knew about it. I never heard about them. There were some, now we know that people were talking quietly about it, but it was like, don't say anybody, I say that. Just knowing his story was dangerous in Poland. This is how perverted it was. And my father was part of it later to make sure that his story, other Polish heroes like him, don't come out.
Yeah, it's wiping out your history.
Yes.
It's a very
when they were wiped out, the history were canceled.
Yeah.
They were canceled.
Yeah, that's wild. So Uncle Adam, what,
He made a big influence on me. He was my hero. He passed away recently. So
okay. So he didn't make it through all of that because
he made through all of it. Okay. Yes, here he's seen a free Poland.
Oh, okay.
As the Poland is today. Today, people then can argue. They can they fight with each other, and they don't look over the shoulder and somebody can lie in prison unless the socialists and communists make may come back. They are still there, but it is illegal in Poland right now to promote totalitarian systems like socialism, the national socialism, or communism. It is illegal. The Polish constitution says so.
Yeah.
But if they're there, because Poles, as long as you can believe in Poland right now, it's a free country.
Yeah.
You can believe whatever you want to believe. But if you promote totalitarian system, you are in trouble. So people today fight with each other. Their divisions are just like here in America. People like very, very strongly disagree.
Yeah.
But this is because the country is free and they can do it.
Yeah. Because even 30 some years ago, after the fall of the Iron Curtain, there's plenty of people that had lived through. I mean, like you're much older, but there's generations younger than you that lived under it. So there's still generations
there is another generation after me that had some understanding, some experience of socialism and communism.
Exactly.
Yes. Matter of fact, one of my best friends from Poland, he's a Grom commando from Polish Special Forces. He's one of those. He was when I was sitting in prison, he was the little kid painting the anti-communist slogans on the walls. And with the can. His father was communist who revolted and refused to cooperate with communism, with communists and participate in socialist state. I have a lot of respect for this guy. Yeah. Today he's retired from Polish Special Forces. So.
That's it's amazing hearing that side of like the world and that history. It's so different from ours. But I when I got my intelligence degree, my bachelor's, they talked about a lot of the Eastern Bloc, Radio Free Europe, Voice of America.
Yes, big influence.
Yeah. Even at one point, one of the big key points in one of the books was Hungary, with their uprising in like 1952 or 54.
1956.
Yeah, or 56.
So let me tell you this, because every socialist state will have this upheaval and uprising every so often. So in Poland, it was 1958, I believe, 1970, 1956, 1970, 1976, and 1980, the Solidarity was born. The Poland was totally devastated by socialism at the time. And eventually, Poland was the first one that freed themselves from, build the first organization that was totally independent from Communist Party, first in the Eastern Bloc. And that was the first brick that fell off the wall, which eventually collapsed, and all the countries became free.
So did you remember at that time, like you said, 1970, there was an uprising?
I remember. I was watching on TV, and they were saying those are insurrectionists. Well, at first they murdered them. They shoot them, but people protesting. And you can see images even today. We want bread. We want bread. We want food. And they were being shot at. So at that time, they were branded as insurrectionists, hooligans, bandits, and people were whipped into this frenzy. They were condemning later on. Some of them participated in those protests, but then after shots were fired and people got killed, they were condemning as insurrectionists. And the same thing happened in 1976, where every time such upheavals happen, they try to instigate the Marxists, the communists like my father, they try to instigate more. So they had an excuse to pacify the system. So they, like, if let's say, if there are some protests going on, they want to amplify it and make it even worse, so they can present to people, look, we just had no choice. We had to go and pacify them, and we need to go and those killing that happened. Well, these people were very brutal, very. They endanger the entire system. They endanger maybe the building of Communist Party members, and the communists were afraid. So that was happened. The same thing in 1980 when they imposed martial law. The same thing, they kill people and they try to tell that these people were insurrectionists. In my book, I described the not so much interrogation. There was the case in the court, in the military court in Warsaw. At the same time when I was sentenced to prison, a friend of mine who was solidarity activists, freedom activists in Poland. He was speaking, but he didn't defend themselves. He didn't defend himself. He was actually laying it to the judges what it was and how it was, and he told them the truth. And they was very brave because he could just disappear. The communists were scared of people who were not afraid of them, who could speak their minds. So it's in my book on the last pages, last chapter.
Yep. And so then, as you're getting older, you're getting a little more involved in the movement. I know you started taking martial arts. You had a smuggling run. Yeah. Hey, talk about smuggling a little bit. I wrote that down in my notes. It was a little bit. You came back. You went out with $80 and you came back with $90.
$90. Yeah. Well, but
it's profitable.
Yeah, our goals were big. Our aspirations. Like, we'll not come back as a millionaires, because some people they did for maybe quite some time. They knew where to go, how to go about it.
Yeah.
I didn't. We didn't. Yeah. We just found out some old prostitute we called them her devizówka. Yeah. So it's like a blonde chick, and we knew she is prostituting herself to the foreigners. So we asked her how to do it. She gave us all the tips. So we're like, hey, we got it now. Let's go. Let's become a millionaire.
Yeah. So what's that like? That, I mean, like, you're a little older. You're starting to hear, you're starting to, like, the foreigners. Like, are you getting more information from the outside? Yes. Of the Iron Curtain.
Yes.
Obviously you get older, you become more aware, but, like, you go through the 70s, 80s, or 70s, and you even said you had friends coming in from that you were training with, correct? That were,
yes. So we had like in my town, there was, I think, couple guys from Nigeria. I think from Nigeria. They came in. That was the first time I seen the black person. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. He's really black. Yeah. Like, I didn't see it. I grew up my entire life not seeing somebody, different. So we couldn't even tell them one from another, because when you see the first time, like, when you see different, like, let's say different race, it is, you have to get used to seeing them to make distinctions between them two. So we couldn't. We just, for us, we were Yashu 1, Yashu 2, Johnny 1, Johnny 2, but they're all the same. But we became friends. They came to our taekwondo club. We started working out together. They were pretty good. So we like them. We like to beat people on the streets. They never wanted to get involved in it. They thought it's just like, this is not good. We respected them. They were good.
How did the Nigerians then come to Poland?
They were students. They were some of the foreign students at the time coming to either Warsaw, there may be more, or to Lodz. But that was the first time I met first black people in Poland. Yeah, they were good people. They were nice. We enjoyed them. Actually, we invited them. We gave him a break even, because when we fought pretty brutal, even on the in the gym. But with these guys, we were kind of careful. We didn't want to injure them, because they were nice guys. Yeah. So we liked them.
That's awesome. So when you kind of start hearing about stuff, and, like, especially with the smuggling, like, what did that? You got excited. You're like, it almost gives you a taste of life. Like,
we can become millionaires.
Yeah, we can be millionaires. Like, we can make money. We can, plow our own destiny, or we can create our own destiny. Almost like you see that turning. I think that's something that socialism, communism can't suppress, is the human factor of, like, wanting to do better, wanting to do more. Yes. And as soon as you see it, even if it's smuggling, you always hear about stories of smugglers under Soviet reign, all that stuff.
Especially that Poland was not communist, there was socialist state, so people could own their businesses, and some of them were very successful. I don't know how much legal or illegal they were under the cover, but there were some very successful and rich people who were not communists. I don't know how they were doing it, but my way, I figured out, I became a millionaire by smuggling jeans from the West to the Soviet Union, and then more.
Yeah. So blue jeans, was it the blue jeans?
Oh yeah, there was blue jeans, there was Levi's, and I remember to smuggle them, you had to put them on. There's not like you can pack a pair of jeans. If you had a pair of jeans in the bag, it's like, okay, that's mine now. The guards will take it away from you. So we had to put on, and I think I had like 9 pairs or 6 pairs of pants. My legs I couldn't bend my legs, so actually they had to lift me up and put on the train to Lviv at the time. So so we had that, and I borrowed from mom $80, because my mom was like, for the black for emergency. If everything went wrong, we had this $80 just to survive.
Yeah.
And so I talked to my mom and say, Mom, I come back like as a millionaire. I give you the $80 back, and I give you even another maybe few $1,000s out of it. So Mom was like, she didn't believe it, but say like, you know what? Just go and see. Just come back at least with the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And everything could go wrong, and that trip went wrong. So we all started losing everywhere we go, every border we went to. On the way back, we had to actually take the dollars, roll them very tight with the plastic, like with the plastic foil.
Okay.
And roll them and take the cigarette lighter, like sealed one end, another one, and along the same. And then swallow it. They were bigger than my thumb. They were just that big.
I was wanting to ask you that because I was like, am I hearing that right? You guys are swallowing the money?
Yeah. I mean, we're like one guy was standing behind you with like for the Heimlich maneuver ready if you start suffocating.
Yeah.
And then you had a bunch of drinking water. It was cold as hell too.
Yeah.
So it was like, I tell you, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared, but but I did. So I got them all. The problem was that we were sick. So on the way back, one of our guys who got sick, he just couldn't make it and ran up to the toilet on the train and shit his dollars on the train in Soviet Union on the train track. So some Russian lucky Soviet Union guy found a bunch of dollars wrapped up in the plastic.
So did they shake you down that hard that you had to do that? They would search everything.
Maybe not always, but they could. If they find that you could go, if the dollars were involved, anything from the West, you can go to prison.
Okay.
Most of the time, they would just maybe take half of it and they'll just give you maybe one roll of the dollars and, took another one. But if they find it, if you have in your stomach, at that time, the technology was not, that great to find to find it. So, that was awesome. Today, I'm just laughing at it, but at the time, we were scared. Especially, imagine the guy who shit his dollars on the train track. That guy was, he was in despair. I mean, I came back with $90. I had $10 more. I gave my mom the $80 and bought the booze for the $10. That was it. That was my millionaire.
How long was that whole process? Was that like a few days or weeks? Or?
Yeah, that was a few days. So kind of a few days. It depends. We had to be organized. So you cannot go through. We're not allowed to the disembark train in the Soviet Union. So you get a stamp of the date. And we rode the train to Lviv. In Lviv, we sold our jeans. We jump into the train, and the same day go to Romania. But before that, we bought it from Russians, those nice Russian hats.
Oh, yeah.
I still love them. They're nice. And then we sold them there in Romania. But then one of our guys got caught. We got caught by the police. They took half of our stuff. A lot of money was lost. The only thing we saved, I didn't get to they were taking each of us in the interrogation room and just shaking us up with whatever we had. So I didn't come to it yet. And then happened that they brought a bag of potatoes in Romania to the police station. And so there were people are coming through one door, picking the bag of potatoes and walk through the other door with the bag of potatoes. They were just checked in who come in. So it's like, fuck, I'm going to lose all the money. So we all bag of potato walk through the door, dump it behind the corner and run away. So we kind of escaped.
So you escaped,
we did escape. And but we lost some money in that police station. So that was not our plan initially. But say, okay, so what do we need to do now? We need to get one more travel. So we're gonna buy as much cigarettes. We smuggle them to Bulgaria. We sell the Marlboros in Bulgaria. Come back with the money so we can buy the leather coats. And then you're supposed to go with leather coats, sell it in Russia because we're very popular there, and then get the rubles, change them for dollars, and swallow them and go back to Poland. So. Fuck, I didn't know anything about leather at the time. And I was I bought wow, this is 300 rubles or whatever leather coat. I buy it. So, I was the unlucky one because all the guys, they bought pretty good, nice leather. I didn't know anything about leather. I bought there was a horse's leather and there was a girl's coat. It was like a little girl's coat. So when in Russia to sell it, you cannot just walk with the coat on your hand. There were just police will come and say, hey, you are the black marketeer. We're going to put you to prison. We're going to take your coat. You had to put it on. So imagine it was a little girl coat. When I put it on, I looked like transvestite. I mean, there was like the hands were up to here.
Yeah.
It was so tight, I couldn't close it here. So I had to hands my hands, I couldn't even bring them down because I would just rip that whole coat. So I was walking on the street like this. And on the top of it was a girl's thing, so it was very tight here. And then there was like a dress sticking out. If you look at me, I was like, this guy is not only a tranny, he's he's a young, he must be a pedophile. I mean, I look bad. I mean, the guy's like, dude, you can sell it on your own. I mean, we're gonna sell our coats, and nobody wanted to buy it. You know, eventually, I did sell. I describe in the book because actually they tried to. The guys, there were gangs up there too in Lviv. There were Russian gangs, Ukrainian gangs. So I said, like, I need to sell it. We're about to leave because we came from Romania. We need to leave the same date. So I said, I need to sell it. I need to sell it. Whatever they offer me, I say, okay, 400 rubles. I think that was. I say, okay, thanks God. So we go into like a gate in the old building and go upstairs, like third flight. So to be outside of the street, so police can catch us. So I took my jacket and gave it to the guy, and he's counting the money. And they have a trick to do it. It's like I asked 400 rubles. They said, we're gonna give you. I'm counting. It's like 370. The trick is that you say 370. Hey, you didn't pay me enough. So there's like 2 or 3 of these guys, right? And one is downstairs as a lookout. So he just like, hey, John, or Boris. Give him 30 more rubles here because you gave it back to him. He's counting. Yeah, you're right. Well, I give you 30 rubles less. We're gonna fix it. Then Boris, go and count 30 rubles. And the guy has like small money, just counting. What you do? You're just like looking a little bit there, right? And then as soon as he said, okay, this 30 rubles, you get the 30 rubles. The guy giving you the money, but now there's a newspaper, just money out on the top. And on the bottom, but inside is newspaper, and then the guy downstairs yells, police, get out. So they just like give you the money, grab the jacket, and they run, and you run, and just then you realize you have a newspapers in your hand, cut newspaper. But for me, it's like, I couldn't sell that thing for nothing. So 370 rubles, 30, I knew what they would try to do.
Yeah.
So well, that's good for me. And as soon as I put my money in the pocket, I just laid to the guy. Bam, he just flew out of it. I kicked another one. And then I was like running downstairs. This guy who was screaming police, who would want to scream police, he didn't. I kicked him as he would just follow on the street, and I just ran out. And I was scared later because I say, shit, they're gonna be looking for me. They just killed like night before some Polish guy. Yeah. So I went up there and bought the biggest knife I could find. I'm coming to the train station. The train just takes off. I'm looking at this train and just taking off from Lviv. I'm like, fucked. So now I don't know what I'm going to do because my stamp. There's the only train going once a day to Poland. So my stamp will not match when I enter Soviet Union, the Soviet Union, and when I leave it. So I'm like, fuck, and my friends, all of them left. Look at it. They're sitting on the bench. I was like, dude, thank you. So you didn't abandon me. You just waited for me. Fuck, no, we just got caught. They just let us off from police station. We lost almost everything. So yeah, that was the...
How old are you when all that happened?
21.
21, okay. So you're
20, actually. I was 20 years old, yeah.
And so then that... what did you do between then and then you started getting involved? What was the trigger that started to get you involved with the printing press and the leaflets?
First, the education I got before from Radio Free Europe, from BBC, Voice of America, I think the most. So I was already involved. My mom was involved too, because my mom, her brother, my uncle Adam, he was beat up by police. The entire family knew about it.
So within your immediate family, like say with your uncle and your brother or her, her brother,
right?
Did you guys trust each other enough then because of your run-ins that you guys discussed?
The family at that time was very close.
Yeah, very close. So you discussed it.
Yeah, we could talk about it, and we were not afraid to talk about. You couldn't shut my uncle down. I mean, he just ripped it as it is. Yeah. He not only told it to us. He was afraid nothing. Mm-hmm. He talked to police and to secret police, whoever the party member. Mm-hmm. You could not change his view. He was saying what he was thinking. That's why he always, for me, he was like a role model. Mm-hmm. at the time. And so, yeah, they were very close. Our family was also very close. Every time we came from Zielona Góra, before we moved to the city lodge where my family was, the entire family, every time we came, there was meetings, like once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks, entire family gathered at the table just like this, maybe a little bit bigger, and all the food they could find. Sometimes it was really not much. You would say today it was like, these guys like don't have anything. But for us, it was a lot. But the most important, there was a vodka on the table. Yeah. So as soon as they started drinking, a little bit, doing shots, we just like, we used to get under the table and just looking. Yeah. So like my younger sister, is like, okay. Yeah. So we know where to reach for the hand and just put the back on it. So sometimes we were more drunk than our families at the table are drinking. Yeah. And at that time also, I think I became alcoholic too, because I was, there was a 9 years old where I just got a taste for alcohol. At
9 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was not like I was trying to get drunk. I didn't know what being drunk means, but I knew because I've seen people drunk, but I just loved the taste of it. So, and my mom at the time, she used to have like 6 to 7, 8 bottles of the Polish alcohol. There was like 97.8%. So it is like 190 proof of stuff. I mean, pure alcohol, the purest alcohol you can buy on commercial market. Because what my mom was doing is splitting it out, like from one bottle, she make 3 bottles of vodka for like when family comes in and so. Yeah. But I learned how to wedge little tiny screwdriver under the cork where you can unscrew it without breaking that seal. You just unscrew with the seal. And then I was just like, it tasted so good to me that I cork it up, but then I was like, a little bit more. Yeah. And so the first I just uncork bottle, I put on the very back other bottles. But eventually I drank pretty much every bottle open. And I could seal it back again because eventually it was more and more, so I filled it up with water. So my mom eventually went to make 3 bottles of vodka out of that. And I was like, out of that pure alcohol. I drink that pure alcohol. So that was already just the vodka like my mom would make it. She tried it and it's like, okay, who was drinking my alcohol? Who was drinking the spiritus? They call it spiritus. Yeah. So, like my brother said, I don't know anything about it. I know it was there. My sister, the same. So just I got spanking. I got pretty good spanking. That was my end of my career as the drinker. I mean, no more until later when I got older. Yeah.
So then, getting involved with the printing press. Then, so. What was that trigger to finally be like, hey, I'm going to get more active?
My mom. First was my mom because she decided to organize the organization in her school where she was teaching. She was in the leadership position of the Solidarity at her school. So I know she was involved. I know she was stressed out about it. And I say, I'll get involved too because we're doing good in kickboxing and we're doing good in taekwondo. So sometimes Solidarity trade union movement, they ask us to protect them when they were going on the trips or if they had the meetings because those anti-fascist, anti-Nazis group of young workers or young students, they were inspired, of course, by the party and the secret police instigated it. So they often show up on those meetings and disrupt it. They yell like, like, I am from Solidarity and I am for Adolf Hitler and stuff. It's nonsense, dangerous nonsense. But this is how they disrupt the meetings, and then the press will say, "Whoa, those Solidarity, those are just Nazis," Yeah. They just yell at the meeting, pro-Nazi, make a pro-Nazi salute and screams. They were not there. They were the secret police instigated group of young, stupid workers, and they call themselves anti-fascists, anti-Nazis. So the Solidarity trade union movement, the people in my city, they ask us to kind of help protect them. We were known because we were known from beating people up in my city. And at that time, they they say, well, can you come and help us? And they say, yeah, absolutely. So and this is how I got involved like even more in the trade union. Then we became actually employed by the trade union Solidarity.
Okay, so so you got a little bit of, I wouldn't say a little bit of pay, but they started employing you to help protect the solidarity movement and whatnot.
Many of us. Yeah, there's quite a few of us from the club.
Yeah. Did you guys get into any significant scraps or fights then?
Well, sometimes during the marches, protesting, we want more food, we want more bread, or we don't want these prices to go up. When they were marching on the streets, there were those groups of those anti-Nazis and anti-fascists. They would attack people, beat people up, or they were just vandalizing things around. They were just working in the march. There was sometimes even secret police was mixed up with the protesters, and then they just throw the bricks into the store, into like store windows, or they attack people. So we're fishing them up and just beating them up almost into unconsciousness, and just leave them there. And we could not go to prison because we're protecting so basically they got the beating for free because we could get away with it. Yeah. This is also where we started using the safety pins.
The lapels. The U.S. lapels?
No.
Oh, the safety pin?
Safety pin, because if you knock somebody out and he's unconscious, if he moves the wrong way, his thumb can fall in. So what we used to do, when we fought, we never fought to the point that like, okay, you punch me a few times, you are better. Let me just walk away. I just go home. No, you fight until you decide that is enough. You start the fight, so I will tell you when the fight is over. So we find out that the best way is beat somebody into unconsciousness, and then usually he's harmless. He will not come and hunt you down, or he will just go home quietly. But to make sure that they are safe. We use a safety device, the pen. We just pull the tongue and pin it to the lower lip. So that way, even if he rolls over the wrong way, his airways will be open. So I call it like a safety device. We use the safety pen.
Yeah, it's still safe.
With
that's
the solidarity and American flag that comes later. But
That's wow. I mean, I've never even heard of that.
No, I'm serious. Last time I pinned somebody is in the Horton Plaza in San Diego because they tried to steal my Jeep.
So did you feel that the movement then? I mean, you're older, so this is the early 80s. Is that starting to, do you feel the tension rising now?
Yes, tension was rising. Tension was rising since 1978 when John Paul II came to Poland and said, don't be afraid, stand up, fight for your rights, don't be afraid. That resonated in everybody. There was 1978. From then on, people were not, even if they were afraid, they were speaking up more and more openly. So the socialist state, the communists and secret police, they knew they have a problem. So they already started making lists of people to arrest. In 1980, eventually, when they lost control over society, they imposed martial law. So it was December 13. But I was involved in it. And I listened to the John Paul II speaking. Actually, it was very close to my heart what our Vice President J.D. Vance told the European Union goons sitting in that room, where he actually quoted John Paul II, don't be afraid. He was not speaking to these Marxists and globalist totalitarian goons sitting in the room from European Union. He was speaking to common men, to common people in European Union. Don't be afraid. Don't let them censor you. Speak up. Don't be afraid. I heard it twice. I heard the original one from John Paul II, and then when I heard it with what our vice president said, it really took me by my heart.
That's awesome. It's amazing. Like I said, in history, you're seeing that when you were, when you heard the original, and it's still relevant today, 40 odd some years later. Don't be afraid. To the common man, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Because if you don't let those elites muzzle you, you will have nothing. You will be. They will destroy you. They will destroy the nation. They will destroy the fabric of the nation. And this is what they try to do. I'll tell you the example. When I was in Poland, I spoke to one of my friends, acquaintances. German, where I said, well, so you are German from German, right? German, don't call me that. He said, he was offended. There's a right wing extreme description. He said, I'm European. I am German speaking European. Don't call me a German. That's offensive to me. This is how the pervasive these socialist elites are. They are hell-bent on destroying the fabrics of the nation and make it just, instead of being German, is just dweller on territory of Germany, speaking German. And this is what I was afraid that was going to happen here. We are too strong for them to do it, but they tried. So, but eventually the end goal would be no more American citizens, only the dwellers in North America. That was, if Biden idea and Democratic Party's idea would go any farther, that how we could end up, and that would be very dangerous.
And that's the EU, and that's said Poland's kind of the beacon or the shining light within Poland when it comes to keeping an identity. In today's,
not only European Union is bad. The bad is I think the elites that try to subdue and pervert the countries. Poland was always proud of their freedom. They fought for that freedom. They fought it out. Nobody gave it to them. And so is Hungary, so is Slovakia now. They are speaking up openly. Those are the East European countries that are more difficult to subdue, unlike Germany, France, and Great Britain. I mean, look at the France. Those are warmongers. They want to destroy the Ukraine. I mean, look at them. Thanks God, when this baboon Macron showed up in the White House, he was not greeted by President Trump. He was ushered into the White House just like some cook or some petitioner. So come here and now get the hell out of here. That's what I've seen. And now the steamer is stammer. I like to say steamer. Is coming to try to convince President Trump to go on and fight the war. We need to remember that it's like the almost 80% of Ukrainian population from 26 to 36 years do not exist anymore. They were wiped out. And now these goons, these Marxists, these totalitarian goons want to continue the fight till last Ukraine. Russia is right now takes from 1 kilometers to 20 kilometers a day, the land. This thing is, Ukraine lost the war. They just don't want to see it. They demanded actually from Ukraine to now send 18 years old into combat. That's how perverted it is. And so and look who they are. I mean, look at the British military. 73,000. They wouldn't. 73,000. That's entire British military. They wouldn't fill the soccer stadium, even with their military. Germans, they fall apart. Their economy is bad, and their military even worse than that. So who is going to be sent fighting there? They will send Poles, and they will send our children to fight for Ukraine. And I think it's time for Ukraine I think we need to allow Ukrainians to save as much Ukraine as it is. They will not save it by combat because they don't have manpower. Don't matter how much weapon we throw at them, and they got pretty much everything they wanted. Don't matter how much money we dump on them, they don't have people to fight. So now it's time for what President Trump is doing, is saving Ukraine, whatever is left of it.
No, I agree. I think you said in the next week or so. I mean, it's rapidly evolving.
That war needs to end. I mean, did you notice that there is the war is being fought a different way? For Russians they have airborne divisions, they have heroes, they can go take land. They don't do it because they don't want to do that. They want to grind that entire generation of Ukrainians who could eventually challenge them or could be dangerous. They just kill them. And then notice another thing too. There is no partisans on the back or behind the Russian lines because everything is being wiped out. There is nobody to fight on the back, on the rears of Russians. They do it very smartly, and they are winning the war. So they won the war. It's just now how quick we can end it and save whatever is left of Ukraine. And these baboons like Steamer, Scholz, they don't care about Ukraine. They just want the war and want the resources from Ukraine. So that's all it is.
No, like I said, on the news comes out every day, something different, negotiations. Like, so I think even today they're, I think Zelensky's coming in next week or something like that, or whatever, is to help see what's going on.
Yeah, let's hope that the war ends. I mean, the Ukrainians are dying there, and that war is
because I got
in the war that they cannot win.
I got friends in Ukraine, since we've gone
so
there.
Did I. When I was there last time, I never met even one Ukrainian who was not opposed to war, who didn't want to end. Everyone I talked to there wanted this war to end.
Yep. Yes. No, same here. So go back a little bit. The distribution of leaflets in
So what happened is on December 13th, the communists were losing control, and like I said earlier, they were preparing the list of dangerous people to communist state. And on December 13th at midnight, they start arresting them. Mass arrests across entire Poland. There was on December 13th and midnight that the TV, radio stations, telephones were cut. There was no phones, nothing. I was on the phone with a friend of mine from Taekwondo club who was in Austria. So we talked at midnight, click, quiet. We knew that something was already going to happen. But I didn't make much of that phone because in Poland at that time the communist technology was not really that good. There's always some shit happens. So the next time. But people would start coming to our headquarters because I was at the Solidarity headquarters at the time, and they were complaining that, hey, my mom was arrested, or my wife was arrested, my husband was arrested. Sometimes the entire family was arrested, and the kids were like 10, 12 years old kids left in the apartment by themselves. So they started arresting people, so we knew something is going to happen. And they did. They went to the list. They arrested thousands of Poles. There are different estimates, from 5,000 to 60,000. Who knows? And this is when we decided, okay, I was not nobody prominent. I was just the guy, my mom was, but she was not on the scale that they were actually seeking these people up. They would arrest my mom too if they had a little bit more space on time. But at that time, they just wanted to get the biggest guys. So we decided with a group of friends that we're going to start printing a newspaper. And we're going to write what happened. We try to collect information where these people are locked up, so family knows that they are still alive, that they are sitting in some prisons, what prisons. And we print it out. But we call it newspaper, but it was actually a leaflet. Just the page like you hold, but it was printed on both sides. But it was already so dangerous to communist state. They perceive it as dangerous. They track us down. And I ended up with 3 years prison sentence for that, for Article 48.3.
That's why it
was military court too, because there was martial law. So there was military judges around Poland at the time, sentencing people to prison.
And how long were you? I mean, I know
I was 21 years
21.
old.
Okay, because I know you guys got caught doing that. How did they catch you guys, or did somebody? Because I think I remember.
Well, we didn't know anything about conspiracy in the first place. We thought, okay, let's print it out as many as we can. We just go and we just give it to people. We throw it in the air, and well, that's it's like this. It was pretty disastrous because they just look it up. They track us down.
Wasn't hard.
It wasn't hard. Okay. We thought we are like we are
freedom fighters.
Freedom fighters, and so they caught us. I work on them. So we decided to print the next number and the next leaflets, and we have a meeting and such and such. We showed up, and when I show up, there was I knock on the door, and I could hear. I knew something was wrong. The door upstairs open, downstairs open, and all these people raised with the guns to my head. I was like, I haven't seen the gun. The only gun I seen is one time when I took away from the secret police or the detective in Poland, who just was threatening me, so I took it away from him. But otherwise, I was and beat him up too. But otherwise, like I didn't see that many guns in one place in my life. So, but that's like I thought it was funny because. I did not understand the danger of firearms, how dangerous it is. And for me, it was like, I never seen one. So you might as well keep the stick to my head. But so they They handcuff me, they carry me like a log into the room. They throw me on the chair, by the armchair. There's one of those police sit down, put the legs on me. So I was like working as his stool, I guess, like a little place to put his feet on. They were waiting for who else may show up. Yeah. And nobody did, because nobody was told anything. And eventually they drove me to prison. Yeah. To the secret police headquarters in Lodz, in city Lodz.
How long were you locked up?
Almost a year and a half. But it first, it was 2 or 3 weeks. I was sitting in the tank. During the interrogation times. So I had to repeat all the time. I had to repeat everything that I said. And, I knew nothing about the law. I didn't think how I can help myself. So when they tell me, okay, I want you to take, when you say what I want you to leave the space between what you say. I'm like, okay. So I just leave the space. So I was writing it. Now I know most likely they could use it. I don't think they did, because when I talked to my partner in crime, to another fellow Solidarity member later on, because we end up in the same prison, he says that no, they never show him anything that could scare him from the case. So we had our story, and we stick to our story. We didn't do it. We found them on the streets. And we don't know how it was printed out. Why did you go up there? Why we just go to that place? Because those members, Solidarity members, we worked together during the free time, during the time of freedom, and we just meet sometimes. And it was not enough. They didn't care if they have any proof of anything. That was just, you were the one who was, because they knew we were throwing it. I'm sure they were following us. Say, you're going to prison, and I got 3 years prison sentence.
Okay. And then, is that where you punched a hole through a wall?
This happened twice. The first time unintentionally. So when, after being kept in the headquarters, eventually they said, okay, we already have everything that we need. We just put you there to the intermediate prison. And so they transferred me from the headquarters tank after, I think, around 2 weeks to that intermediate prison while they were completing the case against me and stuff. So we were sitting cell by cell, and that was kind of funny because I didn't know the rules. I'd never sit in the prison. Yeah. So when they let us out, like every day we could go for like 30 minutes to walk in the tank. The tank was maybe like 30 by 40 feet, and it was made of the like concrete slabs. They were like concrete posts with the grooves on both sides, and in these grooves they put the slabs like maybe that tall and maybe like 5 or 6 feet long, reinforced concrete. They were slided in it, and between them they filled it up with the like dirt or concrete, so you couldn't see who is walking next door. And they had those cages, like one after another, maybe like 10, 15 of them. Okay. So each cell was walking its own, so we didn't have any contact with other cell because there was still investigation going on. So I thought I heard the voice of the friend of mine from my case. So I just tried to peek, but I couldn't see. I said, well, I know how it works because we used to break these concrete slabs for demonstration and for training too. So we go because they were everywhere, like in the stadium or like around the universities. Okay. So we go up there in the university and just kick them and break them up. Oh, okay. And I said, well, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kick and just like shake it off so they get this dirt out from between those slabs. So I can see if there's skin, because I don't want to conversate or yell something to the guy who is actually not not the guy, right? So I kicked it, but I kicked it too strong, so it just kind of broke and fell out, and that was not good. So the police commando came in. The prison guards and stuff. They carried me out from that, and I got to the warden, and I was told they put me in isolation. That was not so bad because I didn't really like these people anyway. So I just sit there, I think, for week or 2 weeks. That's the only inconvenience was there was no mattress. You sleep on the wood, and they feed you just bread and water. So that's all you had, just dry bread and water. That's all you had.
Yeah, and then that's the same one where you got beat up for trying to lay down in the car.
Oh, so that was before that.
It was before. So this is like
that's the first day I came in. I didn't know the rules, and this was a cell with like 2 bunks, so basically 4 people to sleep, and the rest of them slept on the floor. So I think it was like 9 of us in the cell. So I said, well, fuck it, I just go lay down on the bed. I'm not going to go sit in the. I walk in, just lay down on the bed. And the guy comes in, it's like that's my bed. I said, well, it was empty. I'm just laying here. So eventually I had to knock him out.
Yeah.
That worked pretty good. And I had no problems. But then I was like, hey, dude, the guards will fuck you up. You can't lay. The rules were that you have to sit. You either sit at the stool. There was like 4 stools at the table. And you had to sit, but you can't lean on anything. You can lean on the table.
Yeah.
So 4 guys could sit, but now we have another 6 guys sitting on the floor. They can't lay, they had to sit, and they cannot lean on anything. If you lean on the floor, it's even worse, because they'll say you destroy the property, the government property, the painting on it. You just made the wall dirty. So they had to sit. And that was reinforced. But I didn't know. So when I lay down in the bed, I was tired. They're like, hey, fuck, you have to do that. He can't do it. I said, they ain't gonna beat me up for just laying in the bed. Well, they did. So they throw me in. So this time I'm walking into the bed, into the cell. They throw me back in the cell. I said, well, now I'm beat up. So now they know, like, I cannot stand up and sit. So I'm going to go lay down. And I'm going to lay down again, and it's just repeating itself. And the third time, I was really beat up. I mean, I just like my teeth, they were not knocked out, but they were crushed. I had the pieces of my teeth from my thing. But the worst thing they did, they used to have those rubber, they had iron rods in the rubber, in the rubber, cover with the rubber. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, but their technique is to beat you in the bottom of the feet or kidneys. So I got beat up. I was pissing blood then because they beat me up. But I said, like, I'm so beat up. And there was not the resistance. There was not like I hate the communists. I would resist them and lay in the bed. Yeah. I was just tired. I was just I just was ignorant. Yeah, yeah. So I lay in the bed, but they left me. They didn't do anything. So this other guy that I knocked out, he was like one of the guys that's supposed to be in charge of this. Well, charge. I mean, he was the stronger than other guys in the cell. So they were listening. They were listening to him. And so he said, like, he already got beat up, so his status already got lower. So he said, well, I'll be like that guy. I'm going to lay down too. So he lays next to me. Click, click, I can hear the doors open, and these guys coming up with a full like riot gear. I say, oh, fuck, now I'm going to they're going to kill me. They didn't touch me. They just grabbed the guy by the hair. And as they were leading up down out of the cell, they were just pounding shit out of him. So they came outside the cell and started beating him, and you can hear, like, my God. I mean, there was like an animal screams, like, ah! Yeah. I was like, fuck. Yeah. And at least had some dignity, There is the scream is not going to help you anything. So just grind your teeth and say nothing. Yeah. But he was screaming like a bitch. So after a while, they throw him in the cell. He walks in like a half bench, just look around. He walks to one, there's like 4 guys sitting at the table because they're on those stools, because there were 4 stools. He walks to one, grabs him by the hair. It's my stool from now on. I will sit. He didn't lay down. I lay down. Nobody else did. So they kind of let me along. Yeah. And then they changed, they put me into different cell. There was, I knocked out another guy. So they say, okay, now I'm going to go into the isolation in the tiger cage. So that's another story. I'm like, tiger cage, what the fuck is this? Do we have tigers there or something? I hope they don't throw me for food for tigers. We never know, the communists. Yeah. So they walk me in, and I burst with laughter. I had no freaking idea. It was just so surreal that it became funny. There was prison cell, but bigger prison cell. But then there was a pedestal in the middle, and that pedestal was just like, and from that pedestal, the cage was coming out like a rabbit cage. So you can walk around this. There was like no walls or nothing. You can walk around this cell, around this cage. And and just look at you like an animal in zoo. So like I say, I was kind of scared that when I was walking, but when I seen this, I just burst with laughter. So they got even more mad. I said, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" I was like, I couldn't, the tiger cage was basically the isolation in the cage.
Yeah. So then your time there, I know you.
Yeah, but I was maybe like a day or two, and they said, "Okay, you're going in transport."
Okay.
And they pulled me out, and then I had to get my clothes, get all my stuff from the prison repository, and I found that. Oh, by the way, I had the teeth. I didn't say.
Yeah,
that.
you held them in your pocket.
Yeah. So I had the teeth from the first guy who, when the first night, he just said that he's going to eat my food. I say, "You're going to eat my food. I'm hungry myself." I knock him out, but then just to make a point of it, I kind of lift his carefully. He was laying upper lip and just drove his 2 teeth back, pulled them out, and say, "I'll have a fucking awesome necklace out of it. I'm going to make a necklace." And I had those. I was able to smuggle out of the tank in the police headquarters to the intermediate prison, and I had it for quite some time. But eventually, they took it away from me. Whose teeth they are? I was like, I don't know, maybe mine, because I already had the broken tooth. So it's like, maybe mine. So they didn't look like your teeth. They're whole teeth. So anyway, I lost my teeth. So I didn't make a necklace out of it, unfortunately. So, Shit happens.
Missed opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Yeah.
So then, I know, like I said, you were in there, and then you guys end up doing the hunger strike.
Oh, those later on. Yeah. So what happened is, I was when they throw me in this tiger cage. From the tiger cage, they put me in transport to prison on the Russian border, the city Hrubieszów. And as I was shuffling through my stuff that the prison gave it to me, I found the Solidarity Trade Union armband.
Yeah.
I was like, holy fuck. What happened is, as we drove from city lots, and there's one, I described two of these guys, maybe one of these guys, Andrzej Krasuski, in my book. So as we are being transported, there's, I think, like 4 or 5 hour prisoners. They ran into the riots. So the whole van is stopped. People like you just calling them, "You bitches, you." So the police at the time, but the police was working with the communist government. They were not liked in Polish society at the time. It is different now. But so I say, well, check this out. I have this Solidarity Trade Union armband. Let's put it to the window that they are driving. So if people see it, most likely they would break us out of the car was stopped. They almost got overturned because people are so mad. They are pounding on this. If I would show this, these cops may not come alive from that car, and we would most likely would be free. But then Andrew, he was like, because I didn't think much about the consequences. I say, look, they're going to hunt you down. They will not hunt all of us down. Now, you by yourself, but now it's 5 or 6 of us here in this track. We all have to go hide somewhere. So the resources that now people fight communist government and the socialist state, they will have to divert some of the resources to hide us, protect us. That doesn't make sense. You just put this back. I was like, you know what? It does make a sense. I put it back. So, but he described, actually there is interview with him by the Polish news, and he actually described that part too. Yeah. Because he was coming from different prisons, so they were coming from different prison, and they picked me up and maybe another prisoner on the way to the Hrubieszów, to the Russian border. And up there they are kicked out. Once we made to this prison, that was when I, on purpose, kicked from those cages, kicked that concrete block. We all climb out of it, and then we start working on the big prison yard, because were the dangerous ones. So we were only allowed to work cell by cell, and those little tiny cages made of the concrete slabs. So finally we got tired of it, and we're just pushing the limit. And Andrew say he was like he had one of the leading roles in communist political prison. I'm talking about the resistance. Yeah. He said, you talk about kicking a wall. Why don't you kick this wall right here? And say, yeah, no problem. So they're like, look, all right, we're climbing out. So we climb out of it. We climb on this big prison yard.
Yeah.
And we start walking there. So there were cops. There's already we were all surrounded. That yard was surrounded by the
guards.
By the guards, but they didn't do anything. We were they already knew there was different prison.
Okay.
There was prison where they kept political prisoners. They moved all criminals to different block. There was entire block. So from then on, every cell was coming up, and nobody was coming. They didn't fix it for a while, even that wall. So they were all walking on the big prison yard, those small cages over the concrete. They were no longer used.
Yeah. So then all you guys are together now. How's that inspiration or?
Oh, there was inspiration.
Hope?
I mean, I remember I walked in as soon as I walked in first time in the yard, you can hear "Komune Naline" means hang up the communists. I was like, hey, I love this place. Hang up all the communists.
Yeah, because you wrote in the book, it was at like 8:00 every night. You guys would sing.
Yes,
song.
So that prison was on the Russian border, and there's a little town, like a couple miles, 3 miles maybe, from that prison, a small town. And so every night we open the windows. Oh, first before even that. So in Poland, in prisons, you have the bars, you have a window inside, but then you have we call it blinds. There's another window you cannot see through either metal or the glass that you cannot see through, you can see the light.
Yeah.
So there was a hurricane and broke one of those blinds. So and like guys are looking, it's like, well, I think that wind can break more blinds than that. All the blinds went out.
Yeah.
They installed them again, and then that was just like obvious. It's like, we're not gonna put up with this. We're gonna break these blinds, and this glass went out again. So they just left it us, and then we start singing. So basically, we opened the windows, and the entire side of that block was singing Polish patriotic songs, and that you can hear it in that town. People stopped and were praying when we were singing sometimes, and then that was, and they tried to stop it, right? So there was not enough of these prison guards, and in this prison they were mostly they were farmers. They were just making extra money. They were nothing against solidarity, nothing against us. They told them the murderers are coming. Those people who try to murder wives and children of political communist activists. But then when they see, like, look at us, they talk to us too. So they say that's not true. They knew it. So they didn't bother us. And then, but when they come in, they drag us out from the window. They close the window. There's like, hundreds other cells singing that, or maybe 50 other cells, whatever the side of the block. So they close over that. They ran to another cell. As soon as they ran to another cell, we opened the window. We start singing on it. They just couldn't. Finally, they survived. Just let them sing, and every night, every night.
Every night. So that inspiration or that motivation and everything.
And also like people like Andrew Krasuski, Jerzy Kropiwnicki, Edek Kędziorski, Rybarkiewicz, Bielański, Witek, Kaszuba i wielu innych zaczęli organizować nas. They were trying to organize us into. I'm saying Polish names.
No.
They started organizing us and building the resistance. So if prisoner got beat up by the guards, we're going to hunger strike for that long. If prison got isolation for some infraction, we're going to go hunger strike that long. And so there was by the regulations, and there was the way to subdue people too. If you were called to the warden, you have to walk in and say, prison so-and-so is reporting to Mr. Warden and is waiting for like your word or something like that, So our guys they took, I think there was a Witek Kaszuba or no. So they took one of our prisoners there to him, because he was like not really following nobody followed the regulation. We could try to sabotage as much as we could. So he walks into the room, and this prison guard, when you walk to the warden, make sure you say these things. And so he walks in, like, what's up?
Yeah.
It's like, what did you just say? I say, what's up? And basically, hey, yes, you get him out, try one more time. So this prison guy is already shitting his pants because like he has no control over this prisoner. And every time he walk in, it's like, hey, what's up? What do you want? And like none of it. So finally they put him into isolation. So we went on hunger strike, and then they let him out, and eventually they said, "I know, fuck, I don't have it." So we had our own regulamin of political prisoner on the top of the prison regulamin, which if we can skirt it, we skirt it. Matter of fact, my mom showed up one day because we could visit. The visits were, I think, once every month. So my mom showed up like one time, but then she showed up again. I was like, whoa, what happened? Why? She said like, well, they told me to come to talk to you. I just got the mail, because there was no email, the mail from the warden here. And just here it is, that behavior of your son is highly negative. Please come and influence him to obey the rules and regulation of the prison. So they said, I have this document, I need to find it, because me and my wife were looking at it last year, I think, and I'm going to post it on my website. Yeah. So they got the actual letter that I'm really bad, and my mom has to come, because I didn't have anybody else. My mom has to come and fix me up, help them out.
Like they call your mom, like, can you just
they call my mom for help.
That's awesome. So then you guys do the hunger strikes, and
that was the longer one. I think that started. That was because me and 2 other prisoners got beat up on the way to hospital. No, that was just a short one. There was something else was going on that went. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks, and they were holding up. More and more people were breaking out of it. But eventually the letter from the church came in and requested that we stop, because we were, at that time, we started fighting also for status of political prisoner. Socialist state will never admit they hold political prisoners. They will tell you are criminal, you are whatever, but there are no political prisoners. And in Poland at the time there were none. We were, but they just did not keep denying it. So we requested status of political prisoner, and they say absolutely not. And after, I think, 2 weeks, there is by the rule, the prison guards, they have to feed you forcefully. So this is how eventually they broke our strike too. But not all of us. And the call came from the church to stop it, because we were never gonna get from these communist status political prisoner. But what they did, like I was young, but so I could put up with it. But they were older people. Please remember, I was sitting with professors, engineers, teachers who were older. They didn't practice any martial art. They were just normal, good people. So they moved. What they did, they bring a big pot of like a yellow maize, whatever it was. It's like a very thick liquid, and then they brought it like for me it looked like the smaller vacuum from the vacuum pipe. It was corrugated pipe. And they just shove it down your mouth to your stomach, and then they took a little like a cap, measuring cap, dip it in this big thing, and through the funnel they put it in, and it just was leaked to your stomach. So the way they did it, like you can learn to not to do that, I guess, and I did. But the first one, I panicked. So they tried to hold me, they could not. They handcuffed me to the chair. I broke the chair, but eventually, they subdued me. They fed me. Later, I learned how to just let them do it. But now, think about those older people, those professors, engineers. Some of them, they never got used to it. So their trick was, well, you know what? You see this pipe? Instead of me shoving up your throat into your stomach, and then put it in the liquid, well, just here. This is the cup. Just drink it up, and go back to your cell. So some of these older people say, well, yeah, thank you, And as soon as he started drinking, usually it was like, you just broke hunger strike. You just ate on your own, so you are not on hunger strike. We can drive you now into different prison and or different prison cell where the different floor, whatever, and this is how they start dismantling our strike. Not all of us give up, but there are some of us that some of our guys were removed from that strike this way.
And so how did you end up eventually getting out of the prison?
John Paul II was coming for the second time.
Okay.
And he demanded, hey, you know what? I'm not coming until you guys commence amnesty for political prisoners. So this is when they decide to go, and the economy was crumbling. There was sanction. Oh, by the way, when President Reagan imposed sanction on communist Poland, on socialist Poland run by communists, he became the biggest hero in Polish society, President Reagan. He was actually the second after John Paul II, when there were polls made by solidarity activists. So John Paul II was number one, definitely, and then President Reagan, because he stood up to the nasty communists. And the economy was crumbling, and they say, well, let's make the amnesty, and they start slowly releasing us. Not everybody, the people with like larger sentences, they were out, but the persecution didn't stop, and eventually in 1984, I was already in the United States. They murdered a priest who was very outspoken about. They murdered many more of them, but he was the most outspoken, what almost everybody knew in Poland. Matter of fact, I was even threatened before I left Poland, before he was killed. I was threatened that I will end up like this priest Popiełuszko. His name was Popiełuszko, because everybody knew the harassment, the persecution of him. And so I was told, like, I will never set my life in Poland. I will be always persecuted. I will end up like this priest, being constantly harassed and accused of all kinds of stuff. And eventually they murdered him. But I was already safe in America at the time.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that in the book, where it was once you got released, you were always looking over your shoulder.
Yes.
There's always something around the corner.
Yes,
and,
no jobs. No, you can't find a job, or you find it, just kick you out right away after it.
You wrote about that. It's like you have a book. It's your whole life.
Yes, that's ID. That's like we have the driver's ID. So at that time, Communist Poland, there was a book ID. So that was like your name, your parents' name, your maiden name of your mother. If you are coming from the intelligentsia or physical worker, that was just marked. Or if your parent was intelligentsia, your mother was intelligentsia or physical worker, everything was there. Everywhere you lived, there was a stamp from the government that, you live at this address. Wherever you work, there was a stamp from the government or from the company you work for that you are working there. If they catch you without the ID, they had a full right to detain you. Some people were, it didn't happen often, but people were detained because they did not have ID, or the stamp was not right. So like, it seems that you finished the job here, don't work, but I don't see new stamp that you are working, so you are not working. Oh, I work, no, your ID book says doesn't say that you are working, you go with us. And here we go to prison. So until they could verify who it is, and God forbids you didn't have that ID. Even students have to have ID. As a student, let's say in the school, when you walk on the street, that was common. There was patrols of police, and they can stop you anytime. They was just like, come here, see your ID. So now you are a student, and there was a school time, and you were not at school, they will definitely question you. Okay, what school you have? Let me show your school ID. Okay, this is where you are from. Why you are not at school? Why you are on the street? And sometimes they drove you to school, or they put you in the jail and say, like, parents come here and say, hey, your son he was like a bum walking on the streets doing nothing. He's supposed to be in school. Why he's not at school? The parents are in trouble now.
And that's how the state kind of just keeps the hammer down on you.
Hammer down on you constantly.
Constantly.
Because they were afraid of society. They were afraid of people. They were. If you notice that there's a big, I would say, big deal for communists to undermine your faith, undermine your family values, and undermine your moral values to patriotism as well. Because if you are nobody, you don't identify yourself with any cause. You don't have a moral base on something immutable, something solidly based in the. You are easy to manipulate, and this is how socialism, Adolf Hitler. Socialist Germany was able to pervert people to accept euthanasia of people, handicapped people, accept Holocaust. And they say they don't know. They did know what was happening. Germans, Germany is the only nation that was able to vandalize and ruin Europe 3 times within 100 years. I'm talking about Kaiser, First World War, Hitler, Second World War, and Merkel, the invasion from the Middle East on Europe.
Well, the wild thing is that when it came to the medical stuff, you had a story too earlier in your book, which was you had a friend, you weren't real friendly with him. But
I wasn't friendly because he was a son that his parents were communists.
Yeah. But his mother was sick, and that was like another realization, which I agree with you too. It's like when you have the socialized medicine, they can choose who lives and dies.
They decided that this is what happened actually in this case when I was not close to him, but he disappeared at the end of the year, school year. So it was the springtime, and never seen him in school again for a while. And after school ended in the vacation time, I ran into him, and he was always like a love. He was like, was a rich kid, so he never pay attention to me, and I just like stay out of his way unless I need a sandwich. But he was. So we started talking. I said, like, well, he's a nice guy, He's not like an asshole. And I said, so his name was Wojtek. I said, so what happened? He said, well, my mom is no longer alive. She passed away. And I say, oh my God, so you want to go and just have a, sit down, show you the books that I just got from my dad and stuff. I say, okay. So I visited him first time. It was a nice apartment, like those big apartments. And he said that, there was a maybe chance to treat my mom, but they refused because they didn't have enough medicine. And she was too old. I think she was like 40 years old. So she was too old. They wanted to keep this for younger people. Or if she was maybe more involved in Communist Party, she definitely would have the treatment. Because this is how they actually divide the society too. If you can have access to all these things, the special stores, the special commissaries for government workers, where you can buy a little bit better food, and also the same with medicine. You can get maybe better medicine, and she didn't. So she didn't survive. Basically, they ran out of medicine, or they hoard the medicine for people they deem more worthy than his mom, and his mom died. I had lost contact with him.
Yeah, and there was I remember reading about that in the history books with Nazi socialism, but the medicine with like old people and the handicapped, where it was the precursor to the Holocaust, where to them they weren't worth it to society anymore. So why would you spend
they were able to convince people
exactly like what
that
they're worthless.
It is good for the society, is good for Germany. So again, we talked about this earlier about the relative morality. If your morals are not based in something immutable and solid, you are nobody. You have no morals at all, because you can sway just like the Germans sway with Hitler, because not everybody, but many of them subscribe to this socialist ideology, and this is what happened. But this is what socialism needs. And again, there is a version running around. I hear from people that socialism is benign. It is only paying for bread. Paying for schools, for first responders, for military. So socialism is good. No, it's not good. People. This is version of dumbed up version for dumb people who doesn't understand. They didn't get educated about the ideologies like socialism, Marxism, and.
Well, the true consequences that actually come with them.
Consequences of it. That's very dangerous ideologies, and eventually they lead to slavery, and they lead to basically subjugation of the nation, because then You have no recourse to fight them. And first thing they do also when they get to power, change the rules, set the regulation that you cannot challenge them. If you try to challenge them, you become the insurrectionists, you become the traitor, you become whatever they call it. So
was there ever any, I always kind of wonder this because Americans are American, they're like, was there ever any, we're big on our gun culture, but was there any armed movements within Poland or any kind of...
No, Poland was disarmed. I mean, there was in 1940s, if you had a gun, if they caught you with a gun, they could shoot you right there on the spot, almost, basically, take you to the police station. And many people were executed this way. If you belong to party, you could have maybe guns. But even now, Poland is a free country now. People can have guns. But like my father, Communist Party member, before he died, he had a hunting rifle. But for him to buy another rifle, he had to go actually for... mental evaluations with psychiatrists why he wants to have two guns. So
so they make it a lot more complicated.
Yeah, they make it a lot more complicated, and people had nothing to defend themselves.
So and that's a key thing.
What is so important here that we can have guns, and I am a big fan of having guns, and I rely on myself. The police is great, and I have a lot of respect for police. I am big fan of our police force. They are important. They play important roles to keeping our communities safe. Every time I deploy overseas, the first thing that I told my wife is call police if you have a problems. And on my fridge, the first thing went on is the phone numbers to police, firefighters, and first responders. So it is very different here. Here, police are, and Poland is right now the same. But at that time, the police was a tool of Marxist regime, communist regime, to subdue society at the time. Not all of the police officers were like that, but there's a big part of it. There were tools in the hands of communists.
So, all right. So back up a little bit. We'll do. So you get out. You have your book. You can't get a job anywhere. So then you eventually make the decision. Say, hey, I'm going to the U.S. embassy. So they did have a U.S. embassy within Poland that you could go.
We need to back up a little bit more too, because you see that. When I was growing up, especially when I came to live with my father, that was a funny story too, because my father didn't tell his wife anything, his second wife. I just show up at the door and she said, okay, he's going to live with us. She's like, he had almost heart attack. He's just screaming up there. But so when I went to school later on the way to school, I was changing buses at a U.S. embassy. And I love to go and look at those displays. They were like describing how people live in America. You know, how the cars, the new cars and stuff. I remember it was just like, I could, instead of waking on the bus, I could spend an hour just looking at it and dreaming. And then I looked through the fence, steel fence, I see these beautiful, big, powerful cars. I was like, oh my God, I never, besides from Radio Free Europe, Voice of America, I always I was fascinated by America. I was learning how America is built on freedom. Personal freedom and on goodness, and built by a hard man and woman. And this something what was always in my heart. I was always the place, like the beacon. If you want to be free, this is what you're looking up to. So I remember even as kids, in the book is the picture of it. My mom paid big money to borrow the cowboy hat and the sheriff's star and the guns. So I'm with the guns. My father freaked out. He just like, what the hell are you doing? How dare you? But so me, my brother were like cowboys.
American cowboys.
Cowboys. Cowboys or Indians. But all cowboys, So I dressed up, and there was one Christmas that we were allowed to do it, and I was like, oh my God. So America was always this beacon of freedom for me and for people outside, for everybody. People look up to America. And so when the hard times hit, when I was being in danger, because I was being kidnapped from the street sometimes. I was walking from the club with friends. They just, the civilian car comes in, the cops come in and say, hey, there's a secret service, I mean, the secret police, you go with us. So they handcuffed me, throw in the car. They drove me around the town for 3-4 hours. 3-4 hours, they dumped me on the somewhere outside the town, and then I have to walk back. If it was daytime, there's no big deal. But if it was at night, the communication was not there. I didn't have a car, so I didn't even know anybody who had a car. So I had to just walk my way back. And my mom eventually to agree with me that one day I may not come back from those trips. And so I decided to went to ask America for help.
And so then what was that process like? You just like
walking up to the I didn't know how to do it. I just said, I'll go to American embassy and I asked for help. So I did. And then they say, you need to bring such and such documents, you need to look at it. So I brought all the documents from my court case and my prison time. And it's like, I get like very quick my promise to, so I can come to America. And that's when I remember when I was called to, I got the mail from embassy because there was no email at the time. Then to come and accept that there's a they call it promise of immigration to the United States. So I came up there. When I walked out of this embassy, I was like, fuck, the entire world changed for me. I say, like, I look at this and everything became even more gray than it was before. And I was already dreaming of my life. So, in America.
It's amazing here because it's like said, you get that,
my status was political refugee in it.
And so that moved pretty quickly. Like in the book, you know, you had to fight some of the Polish embassy or whatever.
No, that was funny because like in Poland, everybody had to serve 2 years as a conscript. Because I was in prison, that was not required of me, and they wouldn't want me. They didn't want these political prisoners to go and steer the path within the military at the time. So I remember I went to, but I still had to get a stamp that I am not being needed by the Polish military. So I went to this recruiting office up there. There's like, they didn't call it the recruiting office at the time. So I walk in and this major sits at the desk and I told him what I need. He just got pissed off. You fucking bastards. People like you should be serving. They should be serving in Polish military, not look the life for outside the Poland. You should be serving under this Polish eagle right there. He shows the eagle. There's an eagle with no crown. So I'm just looking at it and I was like, no, fuck this guy. I'm just like, this time I'm already free. I have that promise that I'm emigrating to the United States. So I said, well, the first thing, that's not the Polish eagle. The one that is sitting over your head, which is hanging over your head, it's not the Polish eagle. That doesn't have a crown on it. And the crown was stole by a Bolshevik, and that Polish eagle was sent to gulags in Soviet Union. But I tell you what, I don't want to be in your shoes when he comes back, because he will. Oh, wow, this guy just blew up on me. He gave me the stamp, signed it, and just cussed me. I was here, he's stomping, screams, and cussing. Even when I was on the street, walking out with the fucking stamp. I'm not. I can leave Poland.
What was that like? What was the feeling like then, knowing that you're going to go, but you're leaving your family behind? You know, like you're still young. You're in your early 20s.
Yeah, well, no, we agreed that most likely I will never see my family at the time. So that was something that we agreed, but we knew that it was necessary, because if I did not leave, most likely I wouldn't survive long. So I was saying goodbye to my family in Poland forever at the time.
And what year was this one? It was
1984.
84. Okay. Yes. All right. And then you make your way to Germany.
Yes.
And then
so that was great. It was like 3 weeks basically. So I left Germany. There was like a camp for political refugees, where basically we learned about America, about living in America, you know, what to do, what not to do. And we were told, like, we don't ask you of anything. We don't need anything from you people. We just want you to respect our citizens, our customs, our rules, regulation, and our country, respect America. And that's all. And this is how you can do it. This is how you can succeed. So we have people from the State Department coming in, helping us out, like telling us about America. So my dreams is already there. So my God, I'm already. It is what I promised myself, that I will be the best American I can be. I want to be American. I want to live in America, and I never come back to Poland anyway. And I don't give a shit about it now, because I have no choice. I had the passport in one way. I couldn't come back to Poland. My passport has a stamp, and as in this book, this one this other book was the Pauls wrote the book about me as well, different book. But I will post it online too. The stamp in my passport say I can cross Polish border only one time. So
Yeah, that was it.
yeah, that was it.
No turning back.
Yep.
So then you chose Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, they asked me like they ask us
you.
like, where would you like to settle? Do you have any preferences? We don't know. We can promise you that it will that what will happen, but just would like to know. I was like, well, I don't really care when you settle me. I just want, if possible, I would like to be somewhere where it's hot. It was like really hot. I'm sick and tired of being cold because we didn't have a good clothes. The Poland was cold, very cold. So I said, somewhere where it's hot. So I think next week he means like, what do you think about Memphis, Tennessee? I said, well, I don't know anything about Memphis, Tennessee. I don't know where it is. I know Elvis Presley is from Memphis, Tennessee, but is it hot up there?
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah, it's fucking hot.
You'll be just fine.
Sign me up. I'm coming to Memphis. Here it is. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And I like I said, reading the book and or listening to it, it was awesome hearing. Like you get there, you got your own apartment.
That was a shock.
Yeah,
cultural shock. Like today, I'm just thinking like I was like a Polish Borat at the time coming to America. Like I didn't. When I came to America, I didn't speak English.
Yeah.
I had no money because I had $20, but I spent them on little tape recorder. There was always dreams, and I was a little kid to have a little tape recorder. So I bought a tape recorder. So when I landed in America, I had no money. I had a 10 Phoenix. I still remember 10 Phoenix is the German value. That was the change I got from the tape recorder when I purchased tape recorder. And that was maybe like what, 6 cents or 5 cents, something like this.
that.
No English and bag of clothes, like old clothes from 70s. I wanted to say thank you. I didn't know how to say thank you because I couldn't say TH. There is not such sound in Polish. So when I made Memphis, the guy who was already there, the Polish guy said, well, just say thank you very quick. Thank you. They weren't even here. They're just like, they don't pay attention. They would just recognize that you say thank you. Well, the F didn't work for me very well because then one of the meetings, like after the mass, the pastor and his parishioners, they got together and they invited to meet this new Polish immigrant. And of course, after mass, we gather in the back room up there. All these people are from the parishioners, like about to clap. This is the guy, and the pastor came with a big plate of cookies. I thought we had some cookies here.
We do. They're upstairs.
Oh, okay.
We'll get some.
I don't miss cookies. So he brings these cookies, and I grab one and try to be as polite as I can. I was like, I can't say that damn thing. So this guy behind the crowd up there, F. So I say, fuck you. I was like, I already knew I say something wrong because I look at it, I could hear the gasp. It's like, I see the eyes of people. I say, "Fuck! What did I say?" And there's like older gentleman. He came out, like put his arm on my shoulder, and said, like, "What he is trying to say." And he looks at me and say, "Thank you." And I was like, thank you. So I did it. So there was my English.
Some other Poles there as well, like within the community.
Yeah, there were some of them. I didn't have much connection with them at the time. So so that was it. Then I was. I remember I was invited to pool party, like a family pool party for little kids and the families, and there was like nice pool, the barbecue up there and thing. So I tried to represent the immigrants, community of immigrants, the best way I thought I could. So I want to look the best, and I know it's a pool party. We'll be swimming. I was told I can swim up there. So of course I did the best swimming trunks I could find. I could choose for such occasion. So today you would call it a banana hammock, I guess. I picked the tightest one I could find because this is how people in Poland were. If you wear the shorts like this, there was usually old and fat people because they wear shorts like this. So if you wear shorts like this in Baltic beach or anywhere at the lake, people just laugh at you. They would think you are a pervert. I took the tightest, skimpiest shorts I could find. But as soon as I walk in, I could hear a whistle coming out. The kids are being ushered out from the swimming pool in the bushes somewhere up there to different room, and they call me up, say, "Hey, just come with us." And somebody whipped it out like a big shorts. I said, "Hey, you need to wear this." I didn't argue. I knew that sometimes I might not be quite right with everything. I was just learning to live in America.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I just put them on, and it's like, "Hey, right on."
Yeah. That's awesome. And then, like I said, you started working in a mechanic shop.
Well, first I was working as a janitor. And I remember, but hey, I was making my own money. I could afford my own apartment. Apartment was $180. I still remember. It's still there. Today it's a condemned building. Actually, me and my wife driving through Memphis, we stopped by that place. It's condemned now. There was a project. And in this building, actually, there was a bunch of Cambodians, Vietnamese people living. And they were very hard. They were like really hard workers. So, but I remember when they showed me the apartment first time, I just could not wait for my American friends to leave. Just go away so I can call my mom and tell them, "Mom, I'm living in an apartment and I have air conditioning and I have even heating and all that stuff." So I just, as soon as they left, I just called my mom, and my mom was just crying, saying, "Can you afford it?" I said, "Yes, I have a job. I'm working. I'm janitor." And like I had it, but it still wasn't. I was making money enough to pay for the electricity, gas, and the apartment. But really, for food, I think I would have like maybe $12 or $12 or maybe $20. I think I had left. So that was good. I mean, at that time I could buy. I started loving cereal, so I was buying a lot of cereal, milk, and I was happy as can be. Besides, American people, some of them I didn't know from Adam. They didn't know me from Adam. They just heard about me. They were coming to my place, bringing me food, clothes. They brought me furniture because I had nothing. They just give me an apartment, and these people were protecting me. They were teaching me. They were. I remember, like, even with the language, I couldn't speak English. So what I did, I was in newspaper. I was getting newspapers and try to read the cartoons with the dictionary cartoons, and this is how I learned English. It haunts me till today because if you learn the right way from the beginning, you're okay. But if you learn the wrong way, it's more difficult to get rid of the bad habits and bad grammar than. You can still hear me sometimes saying things. But I remember even with just when I came in, they gave me a dictionary, and I have this dictionary. I'm going to post it online. The English, Polish, English dictionary. So there was an older couple from that church where they put me for a few days until they found an apartment for me and the job as a janitor. So I wanted to show them that I'm not just, I'm learning. I want to learn about America. I want to learn English. So as we drove, because sometimes they took me for a ride around Memphis and they showed me, okay, this is the downtown, this is this, this is that. And as we drove, I wanted to impress them too. So it was just like dictionary. This is woman. It's a woman. This is a man. This is tree. This is a house. And I was also memorizing that stuff too as well. And I see the black guy who's walking. I say, this is the bad word. It's like they almost wrecked the car. I didn't know any better. I was like, And so I have the dictionary, and I have her cross it out. The N-word, and it's written black man, and say, if you say this, it's impolite, this is wrong. You are offending these people. I didn't understand what they were saying, but that was translated to me later in Polish that this is a very inappropriate way to call people in America, Americans. So I must not use that word. And this is why this lady scratched it for me and wrote black man. There was a learning curve that, especially for the guy who didn't speak English, and everything I had to rely on my American friends with everything, mistakes that could be easily made. Of course, I learned very quick later on that in America we have only one color: it's red, white, and blue. That when I joined the Navy, that was the first thing that was instilled in me, in my heart.
And I love that story. Like the mechanic story.
Later on, I was like, I was working hard. It was actually good because I had the map in one hand, the cartoon in another hand, and Joe loves Jane. Joe loves Jane. So Joe loves Jane is this. So this is how I learned English.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was great. Well, when you did the mechanic job, you're learning from that. I know the story. You getting the steaks for seeing the steaks. And your buddy that worked there that helped you out.
I thought the whole town will come to visit because when this friend of mine, he was my boss.
Mm-hmm.
He was the shop foreman for a sub mechanic, James Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, I owe this guy so much. So he said, you know what? I have a couple of mechanics coming in, and so I have a steaks. Let's go have a steak. A steak. Okay, well, I have my first American steak. So we show up, and he has like big slabs of meat. So I said, well, some mechanics will come for that party, but so I look at it, and there's much meat. I think entire town is going to come here and eat it. The way I learned to eat meat was little thin slices, almost like the razor blades, just like a slice. And you didn't eat meat. You just to have a taste of the meat on your bread or something, or potatoes. And here, that looks like the fucking break. I was like, who's going to eat? How many people are coming here? He says, no, it's just me, you, Jerry, and some other mechanic. So I said, God, So I was so grateful. I ate the whole meat. Like when I was growing up in Poland, I always wanted to fill myself with certain foods, like steak. I never had enough to eat enough steak to fill myself with it. Fruits, like banana or grapes or watermelon. I was always for slice, or maybe 5 or maybe 6 grapes, or maybe 15 grapes, and maybe just... So I never had the chance. And here in America, there was abundance of it. I could eat whatever I wanted to eat, as much as I wanted to, as long as I could afford it. Yeah. So up there at that steak, it's like I was so grateful to him. So I wanted to also, because I was doing kickboxing and taekwondo, and I said, hey, can you show us something? Yeah, absolutely. So I say, for gym, I just hit that concrete wall so hard that I will impress everybody. So I'll do it. Fuck, there was the drywall. There was not the concrete. So my hand went all the way through from his living room to his bedroom. I was like, fuck, there was basically, I cracked those 2 drywalls. I was like, I was scared. I said, Jim, I am so sorry. I didn't know that the walls is so weak here. He said, no, don't worry about it. They thought it was funny as hell. They were just laughing at it. Pull my hand out.
Well, the amount of effort you probably put into that punch too. Like, I'm going to break this concrete.
I thought it was the concrete. So I said, I'm showing you.
Yeah.
I can punch very hard.
And they're like, we know you can punch.
So, I offered to pay for the repairs and stuff. But at that time, I was already the mechanic. So I make pretty good money.
Yeah, mechanic.
My life was all set. I mean, I was successful. I loved it. And then so I say I pay, but they thought it's funny. So that's like, hey, don't worry about it. I fix it. But no, Jimbo was like, he in his living room, his motorcycle was parked in his living room. Yeah. That was his big feature of his living room. Great guy. I mean,
Yeah. So then at what point then, I know you studied for the test and you started becoming a skydiving instructor. You went on a date.
So it started like I never thought about it. In Poland you live lives, whatever you could. There's really not much fantasy what you could do at the time. There's not like I'm going to make a trip around the world or something. Yeah, you could make one in the books. I could read about it, but like in the wildest dream didn't cross my mind that I can just leave the Poland. So here, I met the girl, and we talked, we kissed. And she says that she'd make a jump. Yeah. I say, jump, like what, from parachute, jump, like this? I say, yeah. How was it? It was great. Yeah. And that was the first thing that came to my mind. Say, fuck, girl can jump, I can jump. Yeah. I'm not there anymore like the, but at that time the Polish society was like the girl has a certain role, man has a certain role. So I was still thinking like, if the girl can jump, now I can jump too. Now I know that sometimes the girl can do things that I can't. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I say, okay, so that I got the bug in my head, and I was just thinking, I was a little bit scared, but I say, because I still have a fear of heights, even now after SEAL teams. So I said, but I'm going to do it. She did it. I'm going to do it. So I called the drop zone. At that time was the Yellow Pages. I know.
I remember. I'm still old enough to Yellow Pages.
Yes, I look at this drop zone, skydiving. Okay, I called them. I can have a jump and say, yeah, come on in. So I went. I made my first jump, a tandem jump, because they wouldn't allow me to jump in the other way. Mm-hmm. So I got the bug. I got hooked. So I say, I'm going to do one more. Can I do one more? And I say, yeah, absolutely. So I did the second one. So I say, how can I jump on my own? Well, we have an AFF program. So what you can do is come here maybe Monday or like on the next weekend. We start maybe like jump a day or 2 jumps a day. Within a week, you should be able to jump. I say, okay, when do we start? Okay, let's start on, I think, Thursday. So, okay, so I came back, and Saturday I was jumping on my own. I passed all the 7 levels of AFF. Saturday, I ran the parachute from people, and I was jumping on my own. And they call me Geronimo at that time, because my name is Dzieran. So it's like, well, we have another Thomas here. So we call you Geronimo. I said, well, Geronimo sounds great to me. Great Indian chief, and a lot of respect for the for this Apache. And I say, I was proud of this Geronimo name. and eventually, I was doing so many jumps. I was hooked on it that I had around 4 hours of free fall time, a little bit more, just the free fall time. So I said, well, I can make some money of it. So I'm going to go to course. And this is where I became known as a Geronimo with 2,000-foot dick. So that's another story too. Well, so the way the AFF course looked before, I don't know how it looks now, but at the time, so we're going through formal classes, and then where we learn how to teach to other people. Of course, my English was not that great, but was good enough, I guess. I passed, but they asked me they pair us up. And one time I was playing the teacher, the instructor, and the other guy was playing the student. And the instructors, evaluators were watching very closely. So if I missed some point or I didn't teach it well, in the air, the evaluator, advanced skydiver, was taking place of the student. And if he seen that I missed something, he was making those mistakes, and then I had to correct, make sure that it's safe. So I was very meticulous. I was going through every program, and I was at the stage right now getting ready for, I think, level 2 jumps that we had to rehearse before the airplane. So we were standing in front of the airplane. The guy who was paired up with me was pretending the student. I'm instructor. There is a guy, the evaluator, watching it. The entire commission was sitting there and watching, and so I came to the point. What is the minimum decision-making altitude? So you either, if you have malfunction, you either you either cut away. It has to be done by 2,000 feet. This is hard deck, or you just ride what you have below. For students to cut away below 2,000 feet, even seems safe. We thought not to do it. We wanted, because they open around 4,500 feet, 5,000 feet. So they had enough time to evaluate the situation and decide if I want to ride what I have to the ground, or I want to cut it away and open the reserve parachute. And that decision had to be made at the time by 2,000 feet. So I say, okay, so now tell me about your hard dick. So this guy looks at me and said, well, I can't tell you that. So then I'm getting pissed off. We had the agreement that, if I ask you the question and we knew the answers, you answer correctly, because if you don't, I have to reteach you the entire thing. Otherwise, I fail as an instructor. So the evaluators here will tell you that you fail. So I say, what do you mean? And like he says that, I don't know, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. So I say, well, that what's your hard dick? He said, dude, I can't tell you that. So he says, well, I don't know what do you mean? I kind of knew, but he was making fun of me. And so I say, well, tell me about your 2,000-foot hard dick.
Yeah.
This guy's like, I don't have 2,000-foot hard dick. It's much smaller. And then I was like about to punch this guy. And I look at everybody's laughing here. I say, what the fuck did I say? And then finally say, I know you're talking about the hard dick, but you were asking about my hard dick, and I want to talk about it. So those pronunciation always was getting me. Yeah, even now, my wife, and I remember the time that she asked me, I asked her if she can make me a dessert. I would like to eat some favorite dessert. Mm-hmm. She asked me what it is. I said, I would like to eat Kimberly. Mm-hmm. She's like, you would like to eat who? Who is Kimberly? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, the dessert that we ate in the restaurant a couple of days ago. I said, she was like, okay, you're talking about the creme brulee, not Kimberly. Yeah. So, but for me, it sounded the same. So, the way I say it was, I would like to eat Kimberly. I was like, who is Kimberly?
Let's look at you in trouble.
Yeah. So I still have my issues.
It's all good. No,
I'm working on it.
I know that you went from skydiving, and I love you studied to get the citizenship.
Yes,
and then
I did. Oh, I was scared. I was really, I was very nervous. Mm-hmm. I did really studied for quite some time, make sure that I pass. I mean, that was my. Yeah. I mean, I would be ashamed. It would be shame for me not to pass the exam. That's something that I always wanted to be. I work for so hard. So, yeah.
Did you feel good about when you took it? You're like, I nailed it.
I nailed it. I feel good. My English was still not that good at the time because during the ceremony when I was sworn, I was sworn as a U.S. citizen. Mm-hmm. Later the TV came in and they actually asked me questions: how it is, are you excited? And I guess I was so excited that actually they couldn't understand very well how excited I was. So the comment was like, these people are so excited. Some of them so excited they don't speak English very well, but you can see they make up with excitement their English. And I have that video actually. I have it at home. I asked later the TV station who was there if they can send me to it, and they sent me the video.
That's awesome. They dug it. Yeah, that's
yes.
great. Yeah. Okay, twist it a little bit. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's good. So I thought that was great though. I think it was when you got your citizenship and then the U.S. went to war. You got your selective.
I became American.
Yeah, you're American.
I always told myself in that refugee camp. That was a refugee camp. That was much like a place where they were teaching us about America. That was not really the camp. That was different than people who escaped Poland. We were taken care of. Different way. Yeah. So this is what I told myself: I will be the best American citizen I can be, and that's my book about.
Yeah.
So and then I believed that it is my moral obligation to support my country in any way I can. Mm-hmm. And for me, the best way to do it was serve in the military because America was fighting war. There was the first Persian War that broke out. So I say, the best way, the most direct way I can serve America is pick the rifle on behalf of American people and fight for them.
I thought it was funny. You started packing your bags,
thinking they were going to. So at that time, I didn't know anything about army. For me, I didn't know the difference between Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines. For me, it was just military. So I'm joining military. Where do I go? Wherever America needs me. I didn't have any plans. I just wanted to be part of it, part of the effort. And then my intention was after the war, I would just come back and resume my great life. I did have a great life at the time. And that's what, so I went up there, I went to the post office and
here I go to war.
Filled the card. It was the enlistment, what do you call this? The draft.
The selective service.
Selective service card. So I filled it up. I sent out. I went back to my apartment. I was living with other skydivers at the time as a roommate. I started packing my stuff, and it's like, what happened? Where are you going? I mean, you cannot just leave. We still have to pay the rent. I say, no, don't worry about it. But I'm going to war. Yeah. I just sign up for the military. I sign up. Why would you want to go to war? You're going to get killed up there. I say, no. America is fighting war. I'm American. I will be fighting that war. And then I come back. I say, after war, I come back.
Yeah.
And so I said, like, how did you enlist? When did you enlist? I said, well, I just went to post office, fill the card in, I send it out. And I pack my stuff because they can call me anytime.
Yeah.
It's like, they were just laughing. So,
they're going to pull my number.
You can. That's not how you do it. And they pointed me at the recruiting office. That's when I started working. Yeah. And Army was Army. I seen the Army, Navy. I don't know what the Navy is. I don't know what the Marines are. But Army is, that's it. This is the thing. So I went up there and they started doing the paperwork. We started filling up the documents, the interviews and all that stuff. And they was like, okay, we are almost done here. So it's pretty much good to go. So we're going to call you. And at that time, Navy SEALs, the Leapfrogs came to Memphis. They were doing some demonstrations. And I was actually skydiving with them because they came to skydive with us. And I knew that I get to know these guys. One of them was Tim O'Hara. That's he's I think firefighter, or he was firefighter on the West Coast later on after his career as a Navy SEAL. But I was listening to him a lot, and he actually said that, well, you need to change your enlistment thing. Why don't you go to the Navy and be like Navy SEAls? Like I didn't know what the Navy SEAls were very well. I just knew these guys were skydiving, so I was like, that would be great service too. I can skydive in the combat. Yeah. And so I went up there. It was awkward for me because I made friends with these Army recruiters, but I say, well, okay, I go to the Navy. So I asked for the documents. And they were not mean to me. They didn't like it, but they said, like, okay. So they give me paperwork. I took to the Navy and say, I just met Navy SEAls. I want to go to join the Navy. I was like, Navy SEAls? Whoa, those guys were just making downtown Memphis jumps. So, okay. Well, but you are too old to be a Navy SEAL. You are like 32 years old, going 33. So we can't guarantee you going to SEAL selection course to BUD/S. But I tell you what, you sign this paper here, you go to boot camp, they will make you SEAL. I say, okay, that's no problem. My goal was not to be a SEAL at the time. I just want to serve America. Yeah. I want to pay back my, the everything that I have. I owe to America, my life. Remember, when I lost my home, America gave me one. When I was kicked out of the country, America gave me country. I'm American now, and by choice. Yeah. So so it didn't matter for me. I said, right, if you can make me a SEAL, I'll just serve whatever you guys need me. Yeah. And just happened I passed the selection course. And
what's wild is that's the 90s. Did you have any knowledge of you could go and try out for BUD/S?
I have no idea.
No idea. That's I talked with just had he has a golf apparel company. I just talked with him, Bobby Holland. Yeah. He was also a SEAL in the 90s, and I was asking about it. And I like talking to SEALs from the 90s because you don't know what you're getting into. There's maybe a little bit of information, but it's a grueling 6 months. Like prep time is important, but back then he said it too.
I had no idea.
Yeah. You're just like,
I couldn't even swim very well.
You're just hard nosing through the whole way.
They told me about Navy SEAls. That was not my goal. That's not why I joined military. I joined military to serve American people, to pay my debt, to pay my freedom back. So for me, it doesn't really matter. But my understanding at the time was that because there are special forces, you're going to go like the prison time. They just lock you up on some isolated place and you will just train all day long. They just make you that special forces guy. Yeah. And it's going to be harsh, it's going to be dangerous, cold, miserable. But I said, well, you know what? I survived one prison, the communist prison. Yeah. I survived that one too. And this is at least here, they don't want to kill you, right? They just want to train you to be hard. Yeah. So that was what I thought about Navy SEAL training at the time. And at that time, I met my fellow teammate Jason Cabell. If you listen, Jason, as power, to you, brother. So we decided to go and kind of like try to find out about the SEAL training as much as we could. And we learned about it. We tried to prepare ourselves the best we could. So we actually went swimming. But then I realized I can't swim very well. So we just like helping each other, trying to. But when I look at Jason at the time, I say, well, if this guy is so sure that he's going to make it and he can't swim, I'm sure he's going to. I'm sure I'm going to make it too. And he did make it. I mean, he didn't do it. He swims so bad, and sometimes I felt sorry for him because I learned how to swim a little bit this doggy style. That guy couldn't even swim the doggy style. He was barely holding on the surface. And we were in the A school at the time.
Yeah.
He got his orders. I still had to wait for my orders because I was so old. I had to wait for a waiver, age waiver for me. And so he went before me. I follow him later on. And we both made it. We actually made it many times later on while in the SEAL teams. And we actually fought together in Iraq, in Baghdad, when he came with his platoon.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was there. So, he's like my brother. Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Great SEAL, great operator, and great friend.
Yeah. So one of the greatest titles that you held then was General Dzieran of what was that? Bosnia?
Well, yeah. So, I'm like addicted to sugar, and I love cookies and stuff. And we're at that time Sarajevo. There was the Yugoslavian war going on, so we left. We were stationed in Sarajevo in the comics boxes behind the headquarters. So there were all these generals, all these big wigs there, and we were just like a little helper guys. But that was nice because like we really didn't do much, but we work out a lot. So we ran. There was a good gym, so we work out with the gym. This is where there was a platoon out with the guy, the strongest guy in the teams I ever made, Chris Stroop, his name. I can say his name because we talk about it, and I have explicit permission to mention him. One of the strongest guy. So I'll tell you later the things that happened. But at that time, so we worked out late at night, and the midrats at midnight there was another meal that we could eat, and we liked it. The only problem with it was that the cookies was not there, and I was like big about cookies and cakes. And midrats there was no cookies for enlisted guys like us, but the officers, the generals who was there. And so every time I ask for cookies, they say, no, you can't have cookies. At midrats there are no cookies. And one night I look at it, there is a dude sitting with a big plate of cookies. I say, what about this guy? Well, he's a general, and so he can have any cookies he wants. I was like, I'm like 34 at the time, 38, so I'm kind of like the age of these generals. So next day I'm coming in, because we could wear civilian clothes in midrats, so I'm coming up and it's like, hey, I want my cookies. No cookies. The cookies are not for midrats. I say, well, tell the chef that General Dzieran is here, and I want my cookies. I want my cookies at that table. I just point some random table. Said, General, yes. 1 second. I didn't make to the table yet, and this has a big plate of cookies waiting for me. So I was like, with the guys coming in and said, "What the hell happened? How did you get those cookies here?" Because there's the guys who knew were with me, they knew it. They were laughing, but other guys came in and say, "What the fuck? How did you guys get those cookies?" It's like, General Dzieran. Call him. So guys, just call me General here, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story. So we were picking out those cookies every day. Every night actually. After workout, we go to midrats and we ate cookies for General Dzieran. I became General Dzieran. But I have to time this thing, because if there were real generals waiting in the line,
we want to be caught.
I don't want to be caught up there. So I just okay, nobody's there at the check-in place. So I just dash very quick. General Dzieran. Welcome, General Dzieran. They were actually greeting me, General Dzieran. That's why I didn't want some of those real generals, officers come and say, this fucking guy, he's just an enlisted guy. Why did they call him General?
Right.
I just made myself General.
So throughout your career then, I mean, I know you did multiple deployments. So you want to get into your Iraq ones, specifically with the Polish Grom. I mean, that's an incredible story in itself.
I was deployed to South America at the time with my SEAL platoon. And in the middle of deployment, pretty much, somewhere around the middle of deployment, the call came in, hey, we have a Polish Special Forces working in Baghdad, and since you are a fluent Polish speaker, We just want you up there and help coordinate our missions, get the stuff working better and smoother. So I was told to pack my shit and just go to Baghdad. So I did. So like 3 months deployment, packed my stuff and just left.
And that was the time too. Talk with everybody in the GWAT era, everyone wanting to cycle over and get into the action. So
my platoon was a little bit jealous too, because SEALs are pretty like type A personality. If there is a war, they want to go to war. They just want to fight. Yeah. So when they find out that I'm going and they don't, they was like, what the fuck? Why do I have to wait? Why he's going and I want to go too? I was like, can I go too? It's like, no, you have to wait your turn. So I was extremely lucky. I consider myself extremely lucky that I could deploy to war so early.
So was it just that the GROM had talked to the SEALs? They're like, hey, we
right.
Like
it was the same camp. Yes. At that time, actually, we were living in the same compound. The GROM was on one side of the compound, we were on the other side. The missions were kind of joined, but I know that our guys was looking a little bit with well, who are these guys? Know what they can do, and then I show up. So I remember. First thing that I ask is I want to go and do assaults with GROM as well. So I was doing assaults with our guys, but in the missions, but also there was GROM going on assault. I said, well, I cannot sit in the car and pass you information when I have no idea what these guys are doing. So I have to be in the assault element with them. So our guys like, well, you get shot or something, it will be on us. We cannot let you do that. We just want you to be the communicator. I say, I can't be the communicator on the rear. Yeah. So they will not respect me. I would not respect myself. And the GROM commander, I say, yeah, come on in. You can work under our command. Yeah. So basically, I was working operationally during the mission when GROM was doing assault. I was working under GROM commander. So and it was pretty cool. I mean, I was double dipping on the missions. That's why I had so many of those direct action missions and the breaching stuff too. Yeah. So that was fantastic time for me.
What years was that? Was that like 03?
2003. Well, I was 2003, 2004, 2005. I was going back to back.
Yeah, I remember hearing in the book, but I'll give a little more context to my listeners. I had known of you from 10, 12 years ago. I think we talked about it in AVC when we were in
Iraq.
No, DC. When we met.
The CVA, the American Veterans Center.
Yeah. That was in DC, right? Yeah, yes. DC area. Yeah. And I was like, there's only two people I know that are from the military within the sphere, and that was Drago and Marty Skovlin Jr. That was it. And I was like, oh shit, Drago, all right. And I knew I had heard you on SOFREP back in the day. This is like 2013 era. I had started listening to podcasts. Yeah. I remember hearing yours specifically, being over for a long time.
Yeah, this is kind of a funny story. Let me just interject something here. So I'm like on my third time. I've done a third time. I think it was in 2000. When I was there, 2003, 2004, and when I show up in 2005, finally I'm going to eat, and the guy shows up. It's like, hey, dude. Have you been here 2003? I say, yeah. Yeah. Oh, what about 2004? I think I saw you there too last year. Yeah. I say, yeah, that's me. So what are you doing here? God damn it, you ever go home? It's like, sometimes, it's like, so they remember me because it was hard to miss us. When we go to Chow or somewhere like on base in the safe environment, we didn't carry the equipment like Army guys did. Yeah. I carry my pistol 6 hours in my pocket or just slide behind the belt. Yeah. Because, I don't want to... We're not rich. Yeah. So then the Navy, we had all the equipment, but it's not like we have two equipment. Yeah. One just to go to Chow and one for the operational. Yeah. And I didn't want to touch my operational equipment, so I just put because you had to have arms on you when you move around the bases there. So I had my pistol in my pocket or just behind the belt. Like the cowboy movies. I said, now I'm like a real cowboy. It's like when I was dreaming when I was a kid. But it was funny because it just was convenient. You know? Yeah.
And so when you're
they remember me from that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the operations, and so how many direct actions were you guys? Because you were double dipping. And that was a heavy
over
time.
100 of those. Yeah. But the combat mission I have more than that. But I'm talking about direct action. Yeah, that was I think the best. I love it the most. These type of missions because they were fast. They were. They're full of adrenaline. It was just you just do what you train so many years, and like we have an entire generation of SEALs that trained so hard and never seen combat.
Yeah.
You know, like, so for me, I consider myself extremely lucky that, you know, I trained and then I could have the chance and honor to apply my training to in real combat and actually validate the techniques, the tactics that we were using. So that was exhilarating.
Yeah. Is there any mission that stands out to you, like something that was either fun, exciting, you know? Something that's like, that
almost every one of them. So there's many of them bland, but I remember one that time when they murdered the Iraqis murdered our 4 contractors. One of them was maybe
the Blackwater Bridge.
Blackwater Bridge. Yeah. They burned them and they hanged their bodies there. So we all pull out. Our forces pulled out and surrounded the Fallujah. And nobody was going in but us. So there was Jacko was with his platoon at the time. What a great leader. I did work for Jacko. And I tell you, we all wanted to be like Jacko. I mean, a very aggressive guy, but the guy who just you want to emulate. You want to be like him. You want to follow him. I follow this guy in the hell because if this guy ever goes to hell, I know we're going to conquer that shit and we're going to be ruling the hell. So with Jacko, we were sneaking into Fallujah and raiding savages there. And the one time it was the hotel we did with a bunch of Syrians. And there was like rooms, we didn't know at the time because it was dark in those hallways that there is a way for them to open doors from inside, but they look from outside, look at those are locked. They were locked actually, but you could actually open the doors from inside. We didn't know that. So, door is locked, you can't open it. So we just keep slapping charges and blow the doors, open the doors, and grab the savages out of those hotel rooms. And I remember I was breaching one of the doors. Apparently the guy was actually peeping through the hall at the time and holding the doorknob when I blew the charge. So, the charges that we were using at the time was the charges that I actually started using, I designed. So they were not charges that could actually... They could, but that was a little bit unlikely they could kill you. So there was a different way of breaching method. We didn't blast through the doors.
Yeah.
There was I don't want to go into the details of it because I think guys are still using it.
Yeah.
But so the guy, we passed in the room, the guy's, his eye is one eyeball is hanging out, he's missing 2 fingers, but he's like, okay. So it's like, and he was still actually kneeling by the door. The door just blasting, just like, holding the doorknob and his eye hanging out. So we got him in, and then, we handcuffed the guy. I used the tourniquet. The handcuffs as a tourniquet, so we stopped the bleeding and stuff. But then, we just keep moving around, and we blast the doors. We keep collecting the terrorists, the bad guys. They were like I think they were Syrians from Syria. So we just collecting them, and the call came in and say, guys, we are by ourselves in Fallujah, middle of town somewhere. We need to move out because there's a group of guys are gathering and ready to move on us. So we're told to grab each of us will grab one savage, his own savage, and we just go move out. And as they are going, we are going downstairs. I was on the 3rd floor at the time, so I grabbed my savage and we are going down, and the guy just does not want to go. Every time we make a step, the guy falls down, especially on the stairs. I'm getting pissed. I say, you don't need to resist me. You are going out regardless, and I'm very trying to be persuasive to the guy to move faster and go. By the time every step, we just falling down. So like I have blood on my hair, on my uniform, the dust everywhere. I'm white from the dust. And we are coming out. I say, Drago, what happened? I say, this fucking bastard doesn't want to go. He keeps resisting, and he just doesn't want to go. Falls down, try to lay down every time we make a step. He's just a bastard. I think he has something on his, consciousness. The guy like, dude, no. The guy doesn't have a leg, man. He just can't go. It's like, I pick his dress. It was the men's dress. I just pick it up, say, fuck.
He's missing the leg.
He's missing the leg. So he was scared. So we threw him on the Humvee and drove him away with other savages and turned him over to.
And you guys, when you're operating too, like the SEAL mission, you guys are, I shouldn't say typically, but direct action, but were you guys working more?
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, most of them, but you guys typically operate at night, but were you doing more day operations?
We did the day operations. We did. there was actually a case that we killed the savage because he was resisting. He was trying. I think he could shoot the guy. So yeah. We did the daytime raids too. We said, you don't pick the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes like we were chasing one of the generals for like 4 months. He was always a step ahead of us. So, when you can get the guy, sometimes you have to do it at the daytime. And there was nothing unusual for us to do that.
And then do you work with any of the like local Marine forces and stuff like that?
Eventually, later on, for my when I came a second deployment, so I just I left after like a year of deployment, and then 2 weeks later I was back. I think 3 weeks later I was back in Iraq. Yeah. So our guys, I was a liaison between the SEAL team and GROM. So the SEAL team picked up the security for the Iraqi official. So they were doing the PSD. And I was like, well, fuck this. Let's go ride some savages. And the Marines show up. So we were working with Marines. The GROM initially was like, well, we just work with SEALs. We don't know who these Marines are. It's like, don't do it. These guys are good. And I had a lot of respect because we gave them the old Humvees. These guys made them like new. Yeah. I mean, these guys, like, we didn't want to even ride them anymore, but these guys fixed them. They just make them like new. Yeah. And so once we started working with Marines, these guys, like, we're all about Marines. Yeah. Matter of fact, my son was a Marine. He deployed to Afghanistan. He spent a year in Kabul, in Afghanistan. And I'm very proud of him. He's on Blake. He's on... right now, studying on the University of Ohio University, Ohio State, nice. Electrical engineering. Yeah. Great guy and great Marine. Once Marine, always Marine. He's Marine. Oh, he asks Marine. Sometimes I have to say, hey, we have 2 little kids. Watch out your vocabulary. He's like me. So,
No, I get it. Guy. And that was that the Battle of Ramadi time frame?
No, that was before that. That was before that.
Because you were there for like, a year, and then you
switched teams. Then I switched, came back again, and then... So I was supposed to go there for 2 weeks just to initiate the cooperation between SEAL teams and GROM guys. And there's 2 weeks, starting to like 4 months later, my SEAL team is calling me. They, dude, we are like deploying in 2 months. I mean, you need to come back, get in the platoon and do it. So I came back and we deploy again sometime later.
Did you guys have any, like, I always ask guys, what was the most difficult or some of your guys' worst moments? Did you guys get into, some really harsh fights,
When we lost the guy, we lost a couple GROM guys. Like when I was in between rotation, some of the GROM guys asked me for to get their resume to one of the contracting company. I did, and they died. They came in. There was ambush on Irish road, and they were killed. So I told myself, and I knew them well. They were great guys, great operators. So I told myself, I will never. It still haunts me. I say, I will never do that. I will never carry him, because I carried their resume by hand. I hand walked them through the process, and they were killed. So I told myself, I will never do it again. I don't want to go through this thing again.
There were some harsh years too, especially on route Irish and Iraq, and because we were 06. I was MSR Phoenix, and we were getting hit with IEDs pretty heavy over there. But and then and the SEAL team wise, did you guys get into like some fights that were pretty sketch?
Those were, I would say. Yeah, there was always something like this happened, but there was the time when we were, I don't say kidnapping sounds bad. It's not right. I'll say we were acquiring Iraqi general. We were hunting this guy for quite some time. Every time he was like 2-3 steps ahead. So eventually we got hold of him. Yeah, it is. We got the guy. And the same thing with the breaching. The first, I'm breacher, so I'm just setting up the charge. And the intel was there's a steel gate and there is a solid wood thick door. So the charge needs to be adequate to get through these two things. So I got the charge, but I'm coming to the door. As we coming, I see that there's no gate and the doors are pretty good expertise working as a breacher in Iraq. So I said, well, if I blast this door, I'm going to blast the door and I'm going to blast everybody inside that room if there is someone. So I quickly switched the charge. I placed on the door. What I didn't know is that the Iraqi general at the time, he was by the door, holding the doorknob and listening what's going on outside because the dogs were barking. Yeah. So when I blast the charge, I blast the general with it. There's nothing happened. I mean, it fillets his hand.
Yeah.
So when we throw him on the ground, I come to handcuff him and I look at it and say, fuck, I see 3 hands. Did I kill somebody? Or where's the hand come from? Yeah. Or the guy is a mutant, have 3 hands. But then I look closer at the light, it's like he just fillet his hand and his hand just flip open. So I was like, no big deal. So we just put it together. I put again, they put the handcuffs, but the plastic handcuffs, but used as a tourniquet. I tied it pretty hard. And the guys just went and bandaged his hand and put his hand together. So there was not 3 hands. There was not the mutant. He was, but when he was laying there, he hears some Polish speech. They say, Poles. Yeah. And the guys say, yeah, what's up? And then the guys start in better Polish than I can say today. Hey, guys, you need to get me out. There's Iraqi general speaking Polish. You need to get me out of here. Americans are hunting me. And I have all the contacts in Warsaw. I have a lot of money. You can have whatever you want. Just get me out away from Americans. I say, you general saying so? I say, yes. Drago, just let your guys know that we got a fucking bastard. He's here. So it's like, we got him. And when he heard that, he just like started crying. He's like, dude, you Poles, how you dare? How could you do this to me? Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? This guy is speaking perfect Polish. Well, he was actually training he was taught how to fly MiGs. And he was in Poland, I think in 70s. Or maybe 80s, whatever. He was one of the cadets learning how to fly MiGs in Poland. Yeah. So this is where I have his picture standing in the front of the very landmarkish place in Warsaw with some other generals.
That's wild. That
was wild. Yeah,
that's incredible. So did you have any? I mean, you said you guys are hitting constant targets. You have hundreds of targets, doors.
Yeah, there was not 100. I mean, there was a lot. There was just almost every night we were doing something. We were either DA or something else. But we were very busy, and there was good time. It was like I'm saying good time. There was people were injured, that people were hurt, but we did what you need to do, and eventually it came to time that I realized that I'm getting tired. I mean. I realized that I have a hard time reading. I was not able to read. I was trying to read, and it seems like the letters were just jumping, and I had to concentrate a lot to make the paragraph. I assumed that there was because of the lightning in the tent, or maybe there was a little bit dark. But even the full sunlight, I have a hard time doing it. Yeah. So that's eventually, I forgot what I was reading. I start paragraph, and by the time I finished paragraph, I didn't know what the paragraph was about. Yeah. So that was the breaching thing, which at that time I didn't think much about it. Not many of us knew about the TBI, the traumatic brain injuries.
What year was that?
That reading problem started in use at the beginning of 2004. Okay, when I was there.
Because that'd be early onset. TB. I mean, like you said, we didn't even know.
Yeah, the memory, the balance problems. Yeah, and that's something that I like jumping. So I thought I could not read very well. And when eventually, I was scheduled to go to breaching school, and I already knew that something is wrong here, and so I asked to change my orders. I already had my orders to breaching school. So this is
you were like an instructor or something?
Yeah, as an instructor to breaching school. And it's hard to change orders once you have them. But so I had to actually call my friend who I was with Iraq year earlier too and say, hey, he was a chief in Millington. I say, look, this is what happened to me. I just need a break. I need somewhere where I don't have, because even shot close to my head, and I still have that, caused a headache. Yeah. So I say, I need to go somewhere where I just don't need the shots, don't hear shots, I don't hear stuff there. And can you send me somewhere else? Anywhere, like Bads or somewhere. So I say, okay, we're going to send you to Bads, and I'll make sure you get these orders. So thanks to him, I was able to switch orders, go to Coronado, where I became SEAL instructor at the time.
So what treatments have you done since? I mean, now we know much more. I mean, 15, 20 years later.
Oh yeah, because at the
you know.
time when I talk to my friends, it's like, hey, I feel kind of weird about this and this. Do you think it's something out? You say, no, I have the same thing. So we're good. We're the same. We're good.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. It'll go away.
What about the lack of sleep? You know, I'm waking up like every 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I say, well, you know, that we can explain. Maybe your apartment in Coronado is haunted. Maybe you just have a ghost. They wake you up. So I was like, fuck. I'm scared now because I'm scared of ghosts. I guess I find out. So I'm started looking for different apartment. I couldn't find. So I say, fuck, I will live with a ghost in my apartment. Well, the ghost was, I guess, TBI. Because, we find it out later.
Yeah.
So what happened is that what very impactful for me were two things. One was the Ibogaine treatment. Something I went and I actually called my wife and say, like, Rachel, you know, I'm coming home now. It was in Mexico, so I buried Drago in Mexico. Thomas is coming back. So that was relaxed. I can talk for hours about just what happened there. That was the weirdest thing I have ever experienced, but it was very significant. I can be better than Biden. Damn, you're right. Check this out. So that was the most significant part, things that changed my life. Yeah. But also, thanks to Dr. Murphy and his system with the magnetic treatment I just recently, magnetic treatment,
I think my brother might be doing.
There's different systems. The system that Dr. Murphy invented, that's his invention. He's an oncologist, worked with children cancer, brain cancers, treating children brain cancers. So that was his invention, that they analyze your brain every week. And every week they set up the tune your brain to be just like it should be when you were younger, when you were stronger, when you were not affected by anything. So he invented it. He actually did tests, and I think he's still working at Walters Reed doing some research on this subject. And every week you get evaluated, and they change the frequency and place on the brain. They will tune it up. So what they find out actually is that, well, in this treatment, you not only improve your sleep, make you more relaxed, but you actually become more proficient and thinker. You become better in making decisions, and if you are a sniper, you actually shoot better. So that's he did the research, and that was the fact. So this is not only for people who have TBI. This is actually for people who want to get better with their thinking process, with their management of their own life. So I'll give you the link to it. Maybe you can post it later.
Yeah, absolutely. And what year was the Ibogaine? Because I know, I shouldn't say recently, everything feels like it's last year, but like in the last 5-6 years, the ayahuasca, Ibogaine, all these psychedelic treatments.
What I noticed with me, it's just like out of the blue, I stopped drinking.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know, but actually I was alcoholic. I had a problem with alcohol, which I never admit to, because I always thought that I can stop drinking anytime. Like, well, I don't need to drink tonight, but I will stop tomorrow. So tonight I will have a couple shots, and maybe I could have a couple drinks, and that should be okay. But if I wanted to stop drinking, I wouldn't have to drink it today. I just do it because it's fun. And it was day after day. So basically, I was telling myself that I can stop drinking. Yeah. And I felt like I can go stop drinking. I just didn't want to, because why? I can do it the next day. And the next day was on. And I never stopped. But after this treatment, I just came back and like, I'm not going to drink tonight. I'm not going to drink tomorrow and tomorrow. So I don't. I don't drink. I have on occasions with my wife. If I feel like I can have a drink, but that doesn't mean that I will drink a lot, or that I will have to drink next day tomorrow. I have a drink once every while, and that's fine with me. But also this is good, I guess, for my wife too, because she's finishing her PhD in system engineering with AI, and I'm very supportive of her. So sometimes to relax, we just go have a glass of wine, and it's fine.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's awesome. Especially with
I sleep well too. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same way. I don't drink nearly as much as I built
Yeah.
a bar in my basement, but
Yeah, I do too, but it's late then. I have a bottle of wine instead only when she has special occasion.
Yeah, exactly.
We drink.
Yeah.
And like the hard liquor, I used to have
Yep.
this pineapple martini that my wife actually invented.
Yeah.
We belong to Cooper's Hawk a winery restaurant chain. We are members and we love this place.
Yeah.
So we always go up there. You can have a free wine drinking. When we are member, you go have like maybe 4 a month or 2 a month where you can go, but also get a free bottle of wine too.
Yeah.
So we do that, and once every while we do it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm good with
Yeah,
drinking.
same. No, I'm with you. It's like I said, I built the bar down in my own basement, and I'm like, man, I drink like maybe once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I
So-
mean? It's like there's a bar, but
So actually, my wife improved their drink too because they have a pineapple martini.
Yeah.
But she changed some mixture. I don't remember very well what it is. She's
Yeah.
all those drinks and wines. She knows it well. But anyway, she changed one of the ingredients, and I had the chance actually to have a dinner, lunch with the founder of Cooper's Hawk.
Yeah.
And. We mentioned him about this drink. He tried it and he said he liked it too. He liked it. So when actually later on the way out, me and my wife were already next day in the morning flying back to Ohio. He actually, when we went to restaurant to Cooper Hawk for our last dinner, me and my wife, that drink was actually waiting for us already. That special one that my wife invented. A great place.
That's awesome.
Like I encourage to visit Cooper Hawk because I'm not like selling it, but this is the. Let me tell you this because it's important. This is the place where there's like all this political shit, all this other stuff, who you are, what you are. It goes away. This is the place where you go have a drink, you meet like-minded people. And I made more friends in Cooper's Hawk than I made in my, I think, entire life after I left the SEAL teams. That was just, it's so peaceful and it's so unjudgmental. And like it doesn't really matter, what you think or who you are. It's just up there to have enjoyed the good wine and awesome dinner. And it's a fantastic place. I would encourage people to visit it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, especially like it's socially calming, but it's nice bonding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's very friendly and not judgmental place. You go there and have a good time, drink good wine.
I love that, dude. That's awesome. So then, we're 3 hours and 20 minutes on. No, it's great. This is the longest one I've done, and
We can split it in two ways.
It's a blast. That was great. And like I said, we covered a lot of ground, and like your time in Poland, like just to reemphasize. I mean, it's an amazing story to hear. It's incredibly inspiring, and then like that's one life before you even got into the SEAL team. So
I wrote the book that I wrote about it.
Yeah.
See, this is not the book bitching about socialism and communism, right? Everybody knows this is very dangerous ideals and systems. So it's not that. I want people when people read this book, The Pledge to America, I want them to use this book as a prism, as a lens to see the America the way it is, to see America good, built on goodness by good people, and that's what you can feel that goodness. Every time there is a crisis or disaster, who is the first with help? American people. Is something that people here often don't see it because they are born here. They grew up as good Americans, the good people. That goodness is so transparent to them because it's so natural. This is how they are. And maybe this book gives them a little bit different vantage point when they can see and admire America the way America is. America was great. America is great. Will be great. And let's make it greater tomorrow than it is today. That was my pledge. Also, the book, this is my pledge to America. I want to be the best American citizen America can have. I want to be better American citizen today than I was yesterday. And I will strive to be better American citizen tomorrow than I am today. That's my pledge.
Hell yeah. That's the great way to end it. Thanks for coming, brother.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.